So this new batch of Epstein documents get released. In it, there is witness statements about videos existing of Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, and Prince Andrew abusing Epstein's victims. There's also allegations that Donald Trump was involved. Now, many news outlets reported this definitively as new Epstein docs, witness say X. However, it has now come out that these are old allegations, which is rather unsurprising because we do know that many of these documents had already been previously released. And apparently the witness has recanted. Now, there's a lot of people who are very defensive of Trump, and they're saying, see, these are desperate allegations from someone trying to bring attention to Epstein. They're not real. She recanted. But I got to say, there's still questions to be had about the woman retracting these claims, considering what she followed up with by saying that her family was in danger. So, look, fair point. Witness claims something, then says nothing. There's not a lot to go on. What do you do? The word is basically meaningless. But at the same time, considering Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel kind of just, were shuffled loose the mortal coil from their prison cells, I wouldn't be surprised to hear a witness recanting. So it is what it is. But we'll talk about this and much more. Mexico wants Joe Biden to give amnesty to 10 million illegal immigrants in exchange for assisting. Things are getting crazy. We've got some lighter news. I don't know if things will develop into anything serious, but a car crash into the White House gates may just be a car crash, maybe nothing serious. But we do have some of these stories to go through, which we will. And we'll talk about JP Morgan's, one of their top strategists said Joe Biden will drop out in March over health issues. I think it makes sense. You know why? Here's the game plan. I said several times, Joe Biden's going to drop out. And then people said, no, Tim, it's too late. They can't have a primary anymore. Exactly. Joe Biden stays in the race long enough so that they can't hold primaries because the deadline is passed, then drops out, giving the DNC the ability to appoint the successor without the democratic process, avoiding another Bernie Sanders situation. And there you have it. We'll get into all that. Before we get started, my friends, click the link in the description below. Go to castbrew.com and lo, you will see Alex Stein's Primetime Grind 2 times caffeine coffee available now at castbrew.com. You want to buy it, because buying from Cast Brew helps support the show, and this particular brew will actually help support cat charities, for which we have yet to choose. But Alex Stein made the request that the proceeds from this will go to a nonprofit that helps sick cats or otherwise homeless cats or just cats in general. And we will do just that. So go to castbrew.com, buy this. Also go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support the show directly, because this show is funded in part by viewers like you. Without your support, we couldn't do all this. We are flying out tomorrow night after the show to Iowa to do a town hall style event, podcast hybrid with Vivek Ramaswamy. Candace Owens will be joining us as well. Very excited for this. And I got a request for a bunch of press to attend, including local news outlets, as well as CNN. I'm really going to enjoy CNN being in the audience. Not that they'll be honest, but I'm looking forward to pointing out what the definition of inside job is, because you can Google it. So click join us, become a member, because I got to tell you, these events, they're very, very expensive to pull off, but that's what we do. When you become a member, that's what your funding does. You become a member, $10, we're going to go do a bunch of stuff. We've got plans for a bunch of these primaries. We've got a big forum planned in March. Hopefully this all we can do all of this without a hitch, but I must stress it is expensive. When you become a member, you'll also get access to our Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals and our uncensored show, Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. We will have one tonight. You don't want to miss it, because you get to even call in to talk to us and our guest. Now, joining us to talk about this and everything else is the man himself, Primetime Alex Stein.
Pimp on a blimp. Everybody go get that Primetime Grind coffee. It is Hunter Biden approved, so it's going to keep you up all night.
That's not true.
Ukrainian strippers are not included. Yeah, well, yeah, but they're not.
He's gonna file.
He's going to sue. Yeah, sorry. And they're going to win, and we're going to go to jail. But
I have nothing to do with Alex Stein's coffee.
Alex Stein does more time in prison than Hunter Biden does for shouting him out.
Wouldn't be surprised. No, honestly, I really appreciate that. And guys, we're going to help some sick cats. That's what's most important. I'm not even about the money. I don't need the money, honey. I want to help out some of the felines, because you know what? I always put the pussy on the pedestal. And I'm talking about cats, YouTube. So we're legally allowed to say that.
Right on. We also got Seamus in town.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am glad to be back here. I apologize. I've lost my voice a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't apologize for that. Some of you in the audience will be very happy to hear it. And I think everyone will be very happy to hear that I am wearing a custom shirt that I made for,
You gotta move your mic out of
for
the
my
way.
best bud. He can't be here tonight, but I made a shirt commemorating myself and my best bud, Luke. Luke, I hope you enjoy that. And with his permission, since both of our likenesses are on it, possibly we could sell it to commemorate
can.
our friendship. Am I allowed
All
to
right,
sell
no,
it?
we'll put it up, I guess.
Well, I
We'll just
I
give-
want to
no,
make
here's
sure
what
I
we'll
have
do.
my best bud's permission before I sell a shirt with his
It's
face
totally
on it,
fine.
Tim.
I'll just give Luke all the money.
No, the profit has to
the thing
go
is,
to
he wouldn't
cat
want that.
charities.
Luke is such a good friend that he wouldn't want that.
He would want you to take all the money.
Yeah, he would
Wait,
want me to
shouldn't
have
you
the
guys wait till June to sell a gay pride shirt?
No, it's just why is male friendship always seen as homosexual? in this
I
culture?
got to be honest. That's uncalled for. Men can be friends.
Yeah,
now.
that's true. I apologize. Yes.
I think you should leave.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. We
Yeah.
love the gays.
We're
yes.
All right. Hannah Clay's hanging out too.
Yeah, it's going to be a spicy episode with you guys. I'm Hannah Clay Brimmel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. I'm happy to be here with these weird boys, and Serge is here too.
Thanks. Yeah, not included in Weird Boys.
We're weird men.
Well, and Serge.
Weird men.
It's a
Weird
whole
man.
level.
What's up, Alex? Good to see you, man. And likewise, Seamus. Let's get into it.
Great
Tim.
to see you, man.
Here's the story from the New York Post. Epstein accuser claims pedophile had sex tapes of Trump, Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson. New docs. This is false. This is false. I'm highlighting the New York Post intentionally for the story because while the witness did claim that there are videos of Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Branson, the witness did not say there were videos of Trump, which is very strange that New York Post would put that in the headline. There were two different sections. Let's read the story, however. Jeffrey Epstein accuser once claimed former President Donald Trump allegedly had relations with one of her unnamed friends at Epstein's home on regular occasions. That is true according to the documents that have come out. Sarah Ransom, in a string of 2016 emails to then New York Post columnist Maureen Callahan, also claimed she has copies of the tapes Epstein had made of some of his high-profile friends, Trump, former President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and British business magnate Richard Branson. Now, again, I'm gonna say I'm almost completely positive based on what I had read. Trump is not included in there being videos of this. That was not the claim. Quote: She confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald. Mr. Trump definitely seemed to have a thing for her, and she told me how he kept going on how he liked her pert nipples. Ransom wrote about her friend in one email made public when the latest batch of newly unsealed documents dropped. However, they do then go on to point out Ransom walked back the salacious allegations in an October 23, 2016 email with Callahan writing, I would like to retract everything I have said to you and walk away from this. She added that only bad things and pain for my family would come from going public. In 2019, Ransom admitted in a New Yorker article she invented the tapes to draw attention to Epstein's behavior. Trump advisor Stephen Chung said in a statement Monday, these baseless accusations have been fully retracted because they are simply false and have no merit. Clinton's rep, Angel Urena, declined to comment Monday. A Virginia group spokesperson told the Post, in a New Yorker report published in 2019, Ransom admitted she had invented the tapes. We can confirm that Sarah Ransom's claims are baseless and unfounded. Ransom, who has been living abroad since 2017 and now living in London, never produced the alleged tapes. She didn't immediately return a request for comment Monday. The emails were filed in a since settled defamation lawsuit that Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, a.k.a. Virginia Roberts, had brought against the sicko's Madam Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the first thing I want to say is they do seem wild, the allegations outright. They do not seem very credible. Like, my friends got these tapes. I swear they exist. Oh, man, don't you better believe it. And Donald Trump said pert nipples. And it's just like, that's tough to believe, man. Innocent until proven guilty on all counts. Now, I will say a few things, however. In the documents, Epstein claims to be friends with Bill Clinton. He says Clinton likes him young. Allegedly, in some of these documents, Bill Clinton went to Vanity Fair to try to shut down this reporting. Additionally, the witness statement isn't just that there were videotapes of Clinton, Branson, and Prince Andrew, but that additionally, FBI potentially working on Hillary Clinton's behalf went to her friend, and told her to basically shut up and throw it all away, and apparently got some kind of settlement to cover it up because Hillary Clinton wanted to be president. When someone then comes out a few years later and says, my family, only pain for my family and bad things would come from going public, it's hard to say there's anything we can do here, to be completely honest. It's almost a moot point because it's like, you make accusations and then you recant them. What can we really say about you? But I will add, I don't trust Bill Clinton. I think we all have a good idea of what Epstein was doing. We want to know who's on those client lists. We know who's flying on these planes. Not only was Donald Trump accused, but also in other documents, One witness said Trump was not there and did not engage in this behavior, which again throws this witness's credibility into question. But I will say, take it all with a grain of salt. Believe what you want to believe. We don't have anything definitively proven. But I want to add, Jean-Luc Brunel, he ended himself in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Epstein ended himself. And then I'll add to both of those, so they report.
Allegedly.
Now, when you have stories like that, I'm not surprised a witness who made these kind of accusations against the Clintons is now like, I'm sorry, I made it up. Leave me alone. I'm out. Especially, real quick, sorry. If they were initially true, that a friend claimed to have these things, it's hearsay to begin with, and that the FBI or someone tried to pay her off, maybe someone pretended to be the FBI, who knows, then it's possible when this person came out and said all of these things are true, my friend said this, her friend then went, I got paid. I'll never admit it, and I'll never give you the tapes.
I think it's very possible that there are tapes. I mean, that's how a honeypot operation works, where if you want to blackmail somebody, you have them sleep with a kid or something and you film it. I mean, I know that sounds far-fetched, but we know that Bill Clinton is with Monica Lewinsky, who was an intern at the time, so he obviously likes youngerish type girls. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of smoke, and there's a lot of smoke.
How was Lewinsky at the time?
Like 24, I believe she was, 25, 26. Still, I mean, that's, relatively young. And so I think he does have a sexual proclivity to younger type
She was
girls.
22.
Yeah, 22. And he was what, 58 or something like that?
I think he was 58. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty big age.
No, he was 49.
Well, 49. So he's even a little younger, but still, I mean, he's finger banging Monica Lewinsky with a cigar in the White House.
Well, that's an incorrect statement.
Or cigar banging, excuse me. Let me
Well,
clarify.
keep it a little family friendly.
Yeah,
but yes,
I'm sorry
yes.
for the YouTube. But if he's going to do that, then we know he's a pervert. So the idea that he's on a private island with Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact that if Jeffrey Epstein was smart, you would film Bill Clinton doing that, so you'd have leverage. I mean, I think that's the whole point of his operation. And listen, I don't know if this is true, but there's some rumors. I just saw Alan Dershowitz was getting pressed on whether Epstein was a Mossad agent. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's very weird. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
But Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, ended up dying on a boat. They say that he worked for Mossad. So I don't know. There's just a lot of weird connections with this that are very high.
I think when it comes to the Mossad stuff, I'm kind of like, sure, let's get some evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, if someone came to me and said Epstein was working with Mossad, the CIA, MI6 or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, okay, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, look, imagine, like, I wonder the possibility Epstein, the whole thing, was not that Epstein himself was the villain, but that this was the play of high powered intelligence agencies who said, we want to control powerful individuals and world leaders. So what do? They recruit Epstein, who for some reason goes from what he was like a high school teacher to all of a sudden being worth, $500 million. And they say, here's the play. You get these men to do these things. We get the video. What if the blackmail was actually government intelligence agency blackmail? So when people say Mossad, I'm like, sure, but what about any other intelligence agency?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, my point with this is whether it's Mossad, whether it's CIA, who knows? All I know is that people are going to dismiss all of those accusations as crazy. Obviously, the point of Mossad, with the case of Mossad, they're going to say it's anti-Semitic to allege something like that. But the reality is, none of this is off the table because none of this is crazy. We're talking about a billionaire who had an island full of underage children who he was sex trafficking. And we know this was happening, and we know world leaders were going there. The idea that anything is off the table here with respect to discussion, or that there's some conspiracy theory here that's too far-fetched to believe based on the things we know happened, is ridiculous. This is an insane situation. And if you told people that this happened 5, even 10 years ago, they would brush you off as being completely insane.
It's amazing,
so for
right?
people to know that this happened, then for people to know that this guy, quote unquote, killed himself in jail while the guards were asleep and the security cameras happened to malfunction and somehow hung himself with toilet paper and go, okay, yeah, so we know we were basically lied to about everything and our leaders were in on this to some extent, but the idea that CIA or Mossad or any of these organizations are in it, that's just far-fetched and crazy.
Have you seen the video, like someone made a computer-generated model of how Epstein allegedly...
Jumping off the top bunk. Yeah,
but it's like he's laying with his legs folded underneath him. So like...
He's doing like a cannonball kind of.
Yeah. But like, okay, so here, imagine this. Kneel down on your knees and then sit on your heels and then lay as far back as you can. Then spread your legs, grab your feet, and launch yourself off of a bed. The video is absolutely ridiculous because the bed was not high enough And so someone posted a video, but like first I saw the official report of like explaining how he did it. Then someone was like, here's what it looks like in a video. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I have ever seen. Okay, but maybe, I guess, at the same time, the guards fell asleep and the camera stopped working.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody believes that.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And I want to flag one more thing here, just because you already know what the response from certain organizations to this will be. But like, if thinking that Mossad is up to something sketchy or has done anything wrong is anti-Semitic, that means believing that the CIA or FBI or any American organization being up to something bad somehow means that you hate Americans or the United States in general.
But I think that's what they want, right? I mean,
Yeah, they don't want you to be able to criticize any of these intelligence agencies.
Right, and all of the intelligence agencies came from a time when there was higher trust in federal government.
That's right.
And we have shifted so far away from that it's really, not to be mean to the boomers, but it's really an older generation that looks at you and says, but they would never.
That's right.
It's the younger generation that is like, we grew up in the reality where you can actually prove a lot of this stuff instead of the narrative being controlled by the government and sort of a closed circuit of media organizations. There's so much more independent journalism that sort of calls attention to these things. So it's really your grandparents, your parents maybe that are saying you can't criticize the federal government because they're here to help us. Like no one our age actually believes that. I think on either side of the political aisle, really.
Yeah. And not only is it things that we can prove as outsiders that they've done which are horrible, but they've admitted to things that are just absolutely unthinkable.
People are pointing out, and I think rightly so, if there were tapes of Trump, these would have been released in 2016.
Yes,
Yeah, you're right.
This is like the most investigated man on the entire planet. You're telling me this wouldn't have come up sooner?
Yeah, 2016, before the election,
exactly.
they'd be like, "Here's a video."
Yeah.
I mean, they claim this. They claim there's a P tape of Trump.
Yeah.
Never been produced. My favorite Trump allegation was the somewhere something may have happened with Trump in an elevator, but who knows what and when, and we haven't found the video. You remember that one?
Well,
from
what about
Post?
Tom Arnold had a show looking for the tapes of him saying the N-word? You remember that supposedly he said the N-word on The Apprentice? And there was a whole show on Vice of Tom Arnold. Yes, you guys didn't see this?
So you
No,
just watched hours and hours of The Apprentice?
It was like kind of like a
This
fake
is his search for
documentary
the
where he
Holy
was
Grail?
like, he was like going to the producers or the sound guy, the sound engineer that worked on the show, trying to find it. Yeah, if Donald Trump was with a child on Epstein's Island, that would probably be out. But I don't put Donald Trump and Bill Clinton on the same boat. I think one is worse than the other.
Have you guys watched the new season of It's Always Sunny?
I watched most of the episodes.
One of the episodes, they find out that Frank was hanging out on the island.
On Epstein's
and
Island.
they were like, "You went to the island for snorkeling." I didn't know anything about the kid stuff.
Well, there are some celebrities that went there that didn't know, but what would you say that the breakdown
BS.
is? What do you think the breakdown is if they knew?
I feel like if you were going
Most
there,
didn't. Most
your
didn't.
inner
Dude.
circle.
I mean, here's how the scenario reportedly or allegedly plays out. Some dude who's like wealthy and powerful gets invited to fly on his plane because, like, let's say you're in New York and you meet him at a conference, and then he goes, "Hey, we're going to be flying down to on my private jet to the Keys. You got a weekend? You want to come hang out? We'll hang out. We'll have coconuts." And they're like, "Wow, that sounds great." They go on this plane, and then a young woman comes out, and he's like, "Oh, meet this young woman." The young woman then entices the guy, but she's being trafficked. She's being pressured to do this and made to do this by Epstein. The rich, powerful dude doesn't realize what's going on. Epstein films it, and then as soon as the plane lands, he puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "She's underage. We filmed it all. We own you now." That's allegedly how it plays out.
Well, Alex Jones said this exact scenario years ago.
Right.
He was like, "These guys are on planes having sex with children," and you're like, "Yeah, right."
Now, the kid stuff, those guys, no question, they know.
Yeah, they know.
But in terms of the capturing and like getting celebrities and tricking them, it's like you get a girl who's 16, you claim she's 18, then the celebrity's drunk, stupid, and on drugs, and you got them. I mean, these are amoral people to begin with. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
These people are going, "I'm going to go party on a plane," and everybody knows what his plane was called. Everybody knew what he was doing back in like 2008, 2010.
Well, have you seen the memes where it says Stephen Hawking would like to have undressed dwarfs do complicated math problems? That's
It's like that they couldn't reach on the chalkboard. I did see that.
I think that's fake, but that's what they
Yeah,
said is one of
yeah.
his sexual
Oh,
proclivities.
right,
I thought that was a joke.
He wanted to see. I think that has to be a joke. But Stephen Hawking was on the plane, went to the island. Supposedly, I think that he had to build him some sort of special wheelchair ramp or dock or some sort of way to get him on a boat. So
ADA compliance, yeah.
no, seriously, they had to build something. So I mean, do you think Stephen Hawking knew that he was doing? I mean, this is all alleged. Do you think,
I mean, that's interesting. Hawking went to the island. Is that
That's what they say. Yeah,
I don't know. Is that true or is it?
I mean, I think it's pretty true. Whatever.
Look,
News Guard rating, not good.
Look. If someone asked me to take $100 and put it on Hawking knew or didn't know, he knew. I'm just gonna bet every time that anybody who flew on his plane and went to his I'll say this: anybody who went to his island, Like, I really do not see a scenario where they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
like, isn't Stephen Hawking supposed to have been one of the smartest people who ever lived? And like, he didn't know, he knew nothing of what Epstein was up to, and would
He was
just
just
get on his
focused on the
he's
science,
he's-
Seamus. He had no
he's
other
on the-
interest.
he's on the plane and he's like, I can theorize about black holes, but I didn't see anything. Wink, wink, Jeffrey.
yeah.
No, I think ultimately, if you were going to the island, Jeffrey Epstein wanted you to see what was going on there, which means either you were okay with it or
That's fair.
maybe it is entrapment. I think it's the plane
That's a
starts to
good
be
point.
like, maybe he was like, oh, I'm a billionaire. I'll get you feeling comfortable with me, whatever. I could see a couple scenarios like people who are photographed with him at parties, right? Like you may not know who he is. It's circumstantial at best, but the island is somewhere, and any of his other properties, he had that big one in Arizona,
New Mexico,
too.
New Mexico ranch.
You know, if he's taking you to his private properties where he is keeping young women, that
It's-
seems like he wants you to see that.
That's a very good
But here's
point.
here's another scenario. Epstein, says, hey, want to come hang out on my island? We're gonna go jet ski and snorkel. It's gonna be fun. You land, you get out. Let's say you get on the plane and some young girl comes on. Oh, I'm married. I can't do it. He goes, okay. The plane lands and then you see what's going on. He then turns to you and says, we'll kill you if you tell anybody. And if you don't tell anybody, you're complicit. Welcome to being an accomplice. Even if the people refused, it's basically your choice of go up against Epstein and Bill Clinton and all these other high profile people who are involved. So what are you going to do? You going to report him? Good luck. How do you, this is the question. With what Joe Biden is doing on the southern border, who do you report Joe Biden to? Is there a superior authority in law enforcement who can stop the Biden administration from facilitating these crimes on the southern border? That's it. He's the commander in chief. So if you fly in this plane, Bill Clinton's been on, that Clinton is friends with this guy. And then he says, who are you going to tell? Bill Clinton's my buddy. The Secret Service knows exactly what he's doing. Good luck.
Well, there's nobody you
We're
can.
best buds, and he makes a T-shirt.
Do you
Well,
think
there's nobody you can
Don't
tell.
compare them to us. Don't compare them to Luke. To
sorry.
my best buddy Luke
It
and
just
I.
occurred to me that possibly.
No, but Tim, you made one of the biggest connections. And what's happening at the southern border, whether you want to say it's like the great replacement theory, but a lot of it, I'm telling you, and I'm not saying this is some right-wing conspiracy theorist, sex trafficking is a huge
Yes.
business to the cartel. It is huge. And a lot of what's happening is driven by sex with underage kids. Not necessarily just because people want to sleep with children, but also they're more vulnerable. I mean, there's a litany of reasons why they use children, but it is kind of connected to Epstein in a weird way that these people that are in power do not even care that kids are literally getting traded, like drugs.
Well,
And
I
not
hate to say this, but probably there are people in power who specifically heard Epstein had this kind of connection and sought him out. That's
Yes.
how amoral a lot of
Did
people
you
in power are.
guys see Jim Gaffigan's joke?
Yeah.
He was at the Golden Globes and he's
called
like, I
pedophiles.
can't believe I'm here. I'm from a small town. I'm not a pedophile. Yeah.
Well, there's something to be said for what you just mentioned, Alex, about the fact that there is a lot of trafficking that takes place here. And not only is it the case that our media does everything to turn a blind eye to it, and that elected officials, particularly on the left, do everything to have people not notice it. It's that you are actually actively maligned and smeared if you point that out or you say anything about it, or you want to implement any practical measures to prevent it from occurring. So, for example, when border security separates the children from the adults that they are with in order to vet them to make sure that they aren't being trafficked, that's separating children from their parents, and that's just unthinkable.
We're assuming
and
they're
how
their
dare you?
parents. We don't
Exactly.
actually know
You're
anything.
starting with the assumption that they're the parents, even though you have no idea who these people are, and they're illegally trespassing into your country. And if you do anything to try to investigate, to vet, to make sure that those kids aren't being trafficked, you're separating children from their parents. You're a horrible person. How could
That's
you
so
support that?
creepy.
It's
I
extremely
remember
creepy.
that when we had these stories and they're like, they're separating the children from the parents. And it's like,
You don't know that's
some
the
guy with a little girl and no ID.
Yeah, and they're supposedly do DNA tests to connect them, but how long does that take to come back? I mean, that's just such BS. Like they actually can tell, oh, this is their biological son. Yeah, right. So
Let's jump to this next story from the New York Post, because this one's got big implications for 2024. A top strategist for JP Morgan predicts that Joe Biden will drop out of the 2024 race in March. And I agree. I believe that there's a strong likelihood that Joe Biden will drop out. And it all makes a lot of sense. Now, when we were talking about Newsom, this is last year, we're like, Newsom's probably going to be the guy. Joe Biden drops out. A bunch of people super chat into the show saying it's too late, Tim. They can't hold a primary now. So it's Biden or no one. Wrong. This is the perfect play. Joe Biden stays in, and then through no fault of his own, oh no, a medical issue. Oh, he's having heart murmurs or something. He can drop out. Then the DNC says, well, this is a catastrophe for us. I mean, what do? It's too late to have a primary. Guess we'll have to just appoint a nominee. Sorry, progressives. No Bernie Sanders for you. No Cenk Uygur. No RFK Jr. It's going to have to be Gavin Newsom.
Or Big Mike.
Yes, Michelle Obama.
I mean, I think that's a big possibility. I think Michelle would win. I think
I would have thought so a year ago. I'm not so sure today.
Not anymore.
Nope.
Okay.
No, because Trump's winning among the in the youth vote in numerous polls.
But, Tim, this is like you actually have faith in the election process. I mean, I know we can only say so much on YouTube, but I mean,
No, YouTube allows you to say the election was
I
stolen.
know
every
you can
degree.
now, but I still don't like messing with the terms of service. I just really have such little faith in our future election, and I think if they take him off the ballot,
Trump lost by only what, like 44,000 or something.
it was like 3 states, like
Right.
11,000 votes in each state or something.
Exactly. So if you think that for all of their efforts, that's the margin they won by, and now with Trump, the polls are inverted. Yeah. Trump was down in the polls and only lost by like 40K votes. Imagine where he's going to be now. I mean, they can try and cheat all they want, and they're going to, and it's going to be embarrassing for them. They're not going to have the same level of ballot harvesting to assist Joe Biden. They would have to go full-scale fraud to try and cheat this time.
Did you know this stat from the past election? Donald Trump won every single state from their in-person voting. Joe Biden won every single state with mail-in voting.
For the first
I did
time
not know
in...
that.
Yes, he even won the bluest states in in-person voting. Trump did.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
And the bellwether counties that typically always have been always correct, this time were all completely wrong except for one.
And
So-
just the energy he had compared to Joe Biden.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
I mean,
there'd be like 4
Joe
people at the Biden rally.
Well, Biden didn't go anywhere. He
Yeah.
was like basically campaigning from his house.
No, that's what I mean. There
right?
were like 4
there was-
housekeepers in his basement. Yeah.
It's like all of his kids and grandkids are
But
held hostage.
I think the bulk of what worked for Democrats was ballot harvesting.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
combine ballot harvesting with lax signature verification. What do you get? A
The
guy
safest
goes.
election in history, Tim. How dare you?
Oh, sure. A guy goes to a nursing home and then says, I'm here to collect ballots for, I'm here to make sure everyone voted. Then goes to all these old people and says, just check this box and now sign it. And all these signatures are wacky because these older people have no idea what's going on. And then signature verification was way lax in many of these places. And even then, Trump still only lost by like 50 or so thousand votes. You take a look at the Trump campaign put out a big list of all the states where they think that he should have won. And the margins are microscopic. 10,000 here, 3,000 there. With Trump's polling today, with numerous polls showing that he's beating Joe Biden in the youth vote, the Democrats absolutely must remove Joe Biden and bring in Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama. Because if Joe Biden runs and they keep him in and they do not remove him from the nomination or from the candidacy, Trump wins. Their only play is going to be Joe Biden, you are out. Someone else comes in.
Do you think Newsom has enough support among young progressives? Sometimes I feel
Nope.
like they are not willing to have another white male be the leader of their party, and that could siphon off a
doesn't matter.
serious amount of votes.
I think the
I'll tell everybody
opposite.
right now, in 2020, everyone says Trump had all the energy and enthusiasm, but Joe Biden had no favorability, like no enthusiasm. The polling was like 20 something percent, 24, 26. Trump's was like 90. Enthusiasm against Trump to oppose him was higher than enthusiasm for Trump, creating a big opportunity. So I will tell you this right now. The polls show that if it's Trump v. Biden, Trump crushes Biden in every way. But they also say Trump versus anyone else, and he loses by a little bit. We will see, considering the polls were heavily against Trump and he still only lost by like 44K votes. Even if the polls are saying Trump's at, 49 to other candidates 50 or whatever, it's still indicative of a Trump victory. I do think, however, the most important thing imaginable is everybody's got to go campaign. You got to knock on doors. You got to register people to vote. You got to follow Scott Pressler on Twitter and just, when he says, here's how we register people, here's how we get them to vote, that's what you got to do. And you got to recognize if the Republicans are not preparing for the lawfare, it's already over. You've already lost 2024 election.
Well, I think Elon Musk said it. It's like whatever the most entertaining outcome is probably what's going to happen. And to what you're saying, Hannah, is like you'd think that you'd want this multicultural, progressive, Kamala Harris type candidate. But I think that irony, they're going to do the opposite, and they get another blue blood Joe Biden white guy like Gavin Newsom. It's like the opposite of what you expect. So that's why I think that he probably has a chance. But does he have the support behind him? No, I don't think so.
That's the thing. Like, Joe Biden's completely unpopular. Everyone thinks he's too old, including every poll that they do about him. Youth vote is not motivated for him. He's not gaining there. But they don't really have anyone else. I mean, I don't think they want it to be Biden, but I don't think Michelle would win. I don't think Gavin necessarily holds, at least long term. Maybe they could sneak through in kind of a desperate attempt, but I don't know that people actually want him to be the face of the party right now. They're very divided. We saw this with everything that came out with the Israel-Hamas conflict. I mean, the Democrats had to look themselves in the eyes and say, we are a split party, even though we're pretending that we are in lockstep this whole time. They're not.
If John Fetterman runs, would we vote for John Fetterman?
Who's we?
I'm just saying. I mean, would you like a Fetterman presidency if he was a Democratic nominee?
I mean, what we do know is if he was running against Dr. Oz, the nation would probably pick him.
Yeah. I mean, Fetterman has become sort of amusing, but I wouldn't vote for him.
No.
I mean,
he's my favorite Democrat, probably, right?
Yeah,
now.
he was defending Israel, and he called out the crisis on the southern border. So I'm like, well, take what you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the future for a lot of Democrats. I mean, we used to say this about Joe Manchin, right? He was the last of the blue dog Democrats.
Yep.
He represented a different time. And maybe the fact that he's leaving the Senate and several other people are starting to think, hey, this party is drifting too far. I need to start tacking back towards what used to be considered the middle. It's probably still just the left.
That's right. Well, this has happened in the past, right? So right after the Reagan era, Democrats realized that they had to be more conservative in order to get elected. So when you look at campaign ads from people like Bill Clinton back in the early 90s, it's a different kind of Democrat who's more moderate and wants to roll back the welfare state. And that's probably what's happening now. Democrats are realizing that they have to move to the right, or at least a little bit closer to the center on certain issues because of how far they've swung to the left. And we really saw this back in 2022 or 2021 with Joe Biden's State of the Union address. We watched it on this show, and he was really going on and on with talking points that were basically lifted from Trump about how we need to defend the police and secure the southern border.
I got to push back on what Alex said, however, which is not your quote, but Elon Musk's, that the most entertaining outcome, tends to be likely or whatever, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Like the outcome that's most entertaining is what's going to happen more likely or something.
I think that's what it sounds like.
It's incorrect. It's a point to be made that a lot of entertaining outcomes are happening, but the most entertaining outcome, absolutely not. The most entertaining outcome in this race would be if, like, tomorrow someone saw Trump and Biden walking down the street in DC holding hands, and when they were asked why they're doing it, they explain that they're simply sharing proteins, and then he asks,
protein strands, can you think of a better way?
Exactly. Right, Simpsons reference. Like, the most entertaining outcome would be like Joe Biden and Donald Trump playing patty cake in the White House lawn and us being confused and just laughing about the absurdity of it. No, the reality is it's going to be likely the most shocking in terms of entertaining. Okay, maybe this. Entertaining maybe is the wrong way to describe it, but perhaps the right word, because, like Die Hard is entertaining, which involves a lot of explosions and people dying.
Yeah.
Well, as you say that, I mean, what do you think the possibility is they can't get Trump off the ballot? And I would never want this to happen, obviously, but what if they did a Lee Harvey Oswald type situation? I mean, do you think that's possible in this day and age where there could be a presidential assassination?
Well, it's
or a
possible.
false flag.
A false flag. I'm just wondering, do we think that's possible? Is
Someone
that possible?
already tried to take Trump's life in his first run in it was 2015, I think. A guy at a rally tried grabbing a gun from a cop, I think it was, because he was trying to, let's just say, seriously hurt Donald Trump. But I think the likelihood that there is like a deep state attempt on the life of the president, in any capacity, be it Trump, Biden, or anybody else, is very, very, very low.
Yeah.
What you need is character disgrace, not martyrdom. If someone, look, we see this all the time with politicians. Assassinations will stop a politician and immortalize their ideas.
Yep. So
And hold on. Yeah. And an assassination attempt boosts their popularity and ensures their victory.
Yeah.
What would his legacy be if that happened? Would it be positive or negative?
For all of the Trump supporters and for everyone who comes after, he would be a legacy. Yeah. He already is going to be like he's
already a martyr.
Well, no. They say who is the heir of MAGA, right? People are saying Vivek Ramaswamy. Already, Donald Trump is viewed this way. But if someone were to take his life, all they would do is dramatically empower MAGA 100-fold.
Yeah, they would.
So that is not the play.
And I think ultimately more than the enemy is better, right? Like the Democrats know who to attack with Trump. They kind of know his weaknesses, and they also position him as the party of the past. That's what Biden said in his first campaign speech, right? The MAGA party is focused on the past, but we're the future, and then spends the rest of his 30-minute speech saying, so this is what happened 3 years ago and why it's bad and all the repercussions. I mean, they really want it to be Trump because they think they know their enemy and whip up hysteria against him. Well, if something were to happen to him, an unknown candidate like Vivek or someone else would be almost more challenging, and therefore it's bad.
I think there's truth in that. I'll also mention this because I slightly disagree with what Tim said. I'm not making any prediction that Trump is going to be assassinated or that there's going to be an attempt on his life, but I will say they have repeatedly tried to assassinate his character, and it hasn't worked with his base, and it hasn't worked with a lot of the country, and if anything, it's just made people more skeptical of the media. And so at some point, if there really is a conspiracy to take a person out, you go from trying to assassinate the character in media, and if that doesn't work, some kind of conspiracy to try to imprison them, and if that doesn't work, you really only have one option left, even if it is a thing that'll turn him into a martyr, because what it does is it sends a message to the next person who might stand up and run for that position that they're going to have the same outcome as the last guy.
Well, and you really think about it, though, it's just an illusion that we actually have choice of right or left. Because, let's say it is not Trump. Let's say they kick him off the ballot. Then we have, listen, I like some of what DeSantis did in Florida, but, Nikki Haley, who's being so propped up by the establishment, even just said that the illegal immigrants across the border aren't criminals. So...
That's right. That's offensive to call them that?
That's what she just said. So it's like, give me a break that you think Nikki Haley's all of a sudden... we don't have anybody on the right that's really going to be our savior. And that's why we say this on the show all the time. It's idolizing a politician. It's like thinking the stripper actually likes you. It's all a facade. It's all fake, really.
I trust Vivek.
Yeah, I like Vivek.
Too.
No, I do too. I trust
him.
I will say I trust Trump to be Trump. I have trust in Vivek, but let me clarify. That doesn't mean that I trust him absolutely. It's 51%, you know what I mean? Like, we'll see what he can do. He's just some guy talking to us right now.
I'll say this. Back when Tim was gone for a week and I had the honor of hosting Shimcast for a week for him.
It was the
worst week of the show ever, without question. It was awful. We bombed in the ratings and everyone hates me.
And then Tim fired
super
him
chats
and
were way down. Don't forget how low super chats were.
Super low. But one advantage was I also made Vivek hate me because he had to sit through a 2-hour interview with me. But through that 2-hour interview, I was really, I did. No, I really appreciated his answers. He wasn't just giving me political talking points. He went very deep on the issues. He was talking about things like how duties how rights are a product of duty and not the other way around. I was like, that's like, I say that all the time. And I really appreciated the fact that he had a very thought out worldview on the philosophy rather than just a series of policy positions. Because someone who's really thought out about their philosophy, who genuinely wants to bring those ideals to fruition in the real world, they're going to be a lot harder to get to flip-flop on certain issues because it's not just like a platform of issues that you can kind of compromise on. It's a whole entire worldview that you're going to want to hold to and that you're going to want to represent honestly.
And they have a way to navigate challenges.
Yes.
They don't have to have everything.
That's right.
They have a framework from which they can make ethical decisions.
That's right.
Vivek is a really interesting guy. I've said this a couple times. If he is, not the VP or whatever, I would love to see him run in Ohio because I think he is the kind of person who could breathe energy into, a state that for all intents and purposes needs a little bit of boost. It's a very nice state, but there's not a ton of industry there. As far as I know, there isn't a ton of young people moving in and staying there. It could use strong leadership. And so I think with Vivek, there is a chance that he is able to do something on a small scale and then potentially in 2028 win people over, people who sort of weren't sure he was an untested quantity. He will just lose if he runs for another office, he does lose the edge of being the outsider, the non-politician. Sure. But does that matter if you have a proven track record of positivity?
Exactly. And what he gains is, again, the track record and the experience. One thing I think is hilarious and ridiculous about American politics is people put so much emphasis on experience that they are actually more willing to have someone who has experience, but all of it has been a complete disaster and they've destroyed everything they've touched, rather than someone who's an outsider coming in who has experience in the private sector and has done tremendous things in the private sector, doing things that are arguably far more difficult than public sector work or elected office. So people will go, well, Vivek, he just doesn't have the experience in government. And it's like, okay, but a lot of these other people do have experience in government. And it's all awful. And they've destroyed everything that they've had the opportunity to lead.
The experience they have is how to exploit
their
position in government.
Yes.
And Vivek's really smart. He's married to a surgeon. He was, he's just a smart guy, independently wealthy. And I think also and all the staunch Republicans are going to get mad, but that he did have liberal views and he's changed his viewpoints at a young age. I'm just saying that's kind of the ultimate person is that's seen both sides. So
I agree.
I do think that's why he's so successful too, is that he's a disruptor. He's saying, hey, let's get rid of the FBI. Let's get rid of all these alphabet agencies. So, he's saying all the right stuff. Let's just see if he can follow through.
Talk about the real threat here. When it comes to the election, people need to consider this immigration. Mexico demands Biden give amnesty to 10 million illegal immigrants in exchange for help with border crisis. A record high of 300,000 illegal immigrants were processed by Customs and Border Protection in December. It's criminal. They're criminals. And now Joe Biden's likely going, I'm willing to bet, no matter what happens this year, be it Biden or Trump, Biden rubber stamps some kind of amnesty. 10 million illegal immigrants instantly being granted amnesty will forever change this country, and there is nothing you can do. Understand this. Why is it that the Biden administration has been trafficking illegal immigrants to all of these different cities? What did we see with COVID? We saw the more conservative-minded individuals fleeing to Texas and Florida. Florida turns deep red. Everybody comes out and says, oh, Ron DeSantis, you're the greatest governor. I did a good job. But let's also consider the fact that with all of these people moving into Miami, moving into Florida for refuge, that has stripped away a large portion of the more right-leaning voters and voter base in these places, which will now be replaced by illegal immigrants who are being trafficked into Chicago, into New York, into these liberal places. The first thing that it will do is in this census, in the next census, it will give an imbalance of power to Democrats. It is estimated that California has between 1 and maybe even as high as 7 extra congressional seats and electoral votes based on illegal immigrant population, because the census calculates all people, not all citizens, and congressional seats represent people, not citizens. That's insane. Yep. I think it was Thomas Massie who said he has an amendment to make it so that Congress only represents citizens. With 10 million illegal immigrants coming into this country and being shipped all over, Joe Biden can rubber stamp amnesty, an executive order. It'll be unopposed. There will be challenges, I'm sure, but for the most part, no, everyone's going to sit back and watch. And what's going to happen is these people will instantly start registering, and you are basically giving Democrats a massive majority in the voting block if amnesty happens. This right here, Mexico demanding it, will be the justification for why Joe Biden does give them amnesty. And he'll say exactly what Ronald Reagan did. We're going to secure the border. We're going to enforce our laws. And the deal we have is to start, we grant amnesty to those already here, and then we lock things down. That's exactly what Ronald Reagan did when he stabbed us all in the back. And I'm sick of these conservatives who are like, Ronald Reagan was the best. Are you kidding? And they argue, yeah, but the amnesty wasn't that many people. Look what it did to California. It's not just California. Following this is in the 80s, into the 90s, you end up with the next generation of individuals when they tried passing a Proposition 187 in California that said non-citizens cannot have access to public goods. It led to protests and mass revolt. Why? Because they brought in a large portion of non-citizens, granted them citizenship, and these non-citizens have deeper ties to their families, as they should, and they will always vote on behalf of their families. So instead of getting people to immigrate here, to assimilate and integrate here, they get a bunch of people who broke the law to enter this country, grant them benefits to our public goods, then the right to vote. Surprise, surprise. They voted on behalf of their home countries and their families, which is completely unsurprising. Anyone would do it. With this migrant crisis, if there is not a mass deportation, if Mexico's demands are fulfilled and Biden plays the same game as Reagan, that's it. American values get erased overnight.
No, I agree. And I think 10 million would be like the 8th biggest state. So no, I agree with you 1,000%. I think they are probably going to do some sort of amnesty, and then it just flips all the voting districts. And I didn't realize that California gets 8 extra congressional.
So there's estimates. I think it was, I'm not sure which organization. A few years ago, there was, this is in 2020 when they're doing the new census, California loses a seat. Some estimates said it's 1 or 2 seats, perhaps they get extra. Now, those seats also mean electoral college votes.
Yeah.
However, with this bill that I think it wasn't drafted by Massey, but it was sponsored, the Republicans actually estimate 5 to 7 extra electoral votes for Democrats based on people who are not citizens. This is the mistake made by so many people. We are not a democracy. So I don't know if you guys saw that Zero Hedge debate with the Krasenstein's Destiny.
With Destiny and Alex. That was great.
Alex and Destiny are a match made in heaven because the way they just yell over each other. But in this, Alex Jones correctly points out, it doesn't matter if they vote. What matters is this is a republic, in which case, as long as Congress represents non-citizens, their vote is their will is represented at the federal level for the president and for our laws. And the only thing the left were saying was, illegal immigrants don't vote. Illegal immigrants don't vote.
That's right.
Over and over again. That doesn't matter. We're a republic, not a democracy. We vote for a representative. If a representative if a district is created because there's 750,000 non-citizens, those non-citizens get representation in Congress, and then they effectively get their vote.
Yeah. Well, and so, yeah, you're exactly right. They'll say, well, they don't vote. Okay, but their presence does sway elections. Their presence does affect elections. They'll say other things. Well, they don't receive welfare benefits. That's also not true. Well, I mean, you guys are constantly saying that taxes pay for churches because churches not paying taxes, but their parishioners using public services means that they're taking from the system. Okay, well, guess what? Illegals don't pay taxes and they take from the system, and you don't consider that to be theft. And on top of that, they will have one citizen in the family who can take welfare living with 5 or 10 illegals who are receiving the welfare from them. So yes, illegals are
But they
receiving
just
welfare.
approved free healthcare in California for illegal
Also
immigrants.
true.
They
But
just-
let's pause here.
Also
The Democrats argue that they either don't receive benefits or they're paying in. Let me just stop you right there, and we'll go as rudimentary as we can. Have you complained about potholes lately?
Yes.
More people means more wear and tear on your roads. Someone's going to pay for that. The roads are going to have to be fixed more frequently because there's more people in your city. That's it. So if you're wondering why it is your water bill goes up, if you're wondering why it is that the cost of electric is going up, it's because demand is increasing quite a bit. Wear and tear is increasing. There's going to be more road construction. There's going to be more density-related problems.
More students per classroom.
Public transportation.
More students
everything,
per
yeah.
classroom. That's right. More crowded trains. So if you are I've heard from so many people. Remember when what was it? KFC filled the potholes. Was it KFC? Someone
I think it might have been
chicken
Domino's.
restaurant?
I think it was Domino's. It was like a delivery thing. I got to look into that.
Let me check.
Well, I think there's a guy that has like a TikTok page where he goes and fixes potholes.
KFC.
And he has millions of followers.
Oh, I think-
Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsored pothole repairs.
And
so they would-
Domino's did too.
Domino's did.
Yeah.
They'd fill the hole and then they would stamp their logo on the hole and say, "Hey, we fixed this for you." What causes these potholes? What you end up there's a lot of things that can cause potholes, but it's basically a lot of starting and stopping. You start and stop, and then it causes pressure hits, and then
huge trucks.
big trucks driving.
Yeah.
The more people you bring into a city, and they're bringing them in mass, hundreds of thousands per month, you will see more wear and tear, and you're going to pay for that. So when everyone was complaining that we had pothole problems that weren't being fixed, to the point where fast food companies started doing it themselves as advertising, this is caused by higher population density. That's it. And if you're okay with paying the bills and dealing with the stresses of population density, by all means. But this means there's going to be more crime, food's going to be more expensive, parking will be non-existent. It's already very crowded in New York. It's crazy.
Well-
Now just keep adding more people and see how that goes.
I mean, also, we know for a fact that they're not willing to pay any of the costs associated with increased migration. They're just okay with people who live in border towns or in states that are being flooded to have to pay those costs. As soon as they get imported into their neighborhoods, they freak out and shoo all of them away. They actually call the National Guard, and we saw that in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Did you see Eric Adams is suing the bus companies now instead of going after the government? I don't know if you saw that.
I
He's
did
suing
not.
the actual coach
That sounds
company.
about right.
Yeah.
But he's acting out of desperation. I mean, he just can't do anything to save New York from immigration except to move illegal immigrants to other counties in New York that didn't want this to happen in the first place. I mean, the reality is that Republicans failed a long time ago by not being more proactive about immigration, and now we're seeing the result of this. And I think part of it is that we have to take it more seriously and not be afraid of the consequences of that. Like the big deterrent for a long time was like, oh, these people need help. Whatever. I can understand a compassionate response to people who are legitimately stressed, but now the whole world knows that you can come to America and say, I am here to claim asylum, and you don't need any credible proof. We'll schedule a hearing way later. There's no evidence of this. I mean, our immigration system makes us weak, and I don't understand why more people wouldn't take that seriously.
They want the country to be weak, and that's why they do take it seriously. They're very serious about ensuring the problem gets worse.
Yeah, which is crazy. I think this is what's so interesting about the possible impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas, which is like he is derelict in duty, right? There are laws in the book that his office has actively fought against enforcing. There have been times that you remember the the whipping story. This idea that like
It was ridiculous.
and
The
it's
guy
false.
was on a horse
And it was
whipping
false.
people.
They were carrying whips. They were on a horse. They did not whip any migrants. And Alejandro Mayorkas went to Congress and was like, "It was crazy," and I denounced this and whatever else. He sold out border agents. He's not even representing the people in his office or who are within his purview to advocate for and respect, who are trying to do the job that they were asked to do. I mean, it's a system that's completely designed to fail, and yet the Democrats are going to push for it for longer. I just don't get it at all.
Did you see in Brazil, I think in 2024, you have to show that you have $2,000 in your bank account to get a visa to go to Brazil?
To get a visa to go to Brazil,
Yes.
you need to show a bank.
a bank statement that
I mean,
$2,000.
it makes sense.
I know. They
Brazil,
should have that
Brazil
in
doesn't got to
America.
let anybody in.
I know, but that's real. That's not conspiracy. So yeah, I mean, obviously we should have some sort of regulations, but I know people that graduated from like SMU and TCU, which are schools in Dallas, that were international students that immediately had to, get the hell out of the country. So it's crazy that we kick out the students, but literally you can be like a convicted, pervert. And,
You just have to come across the border and say the right things, and then they let you.
and did you see how many migrants are from Haiti? They're like Haitians.
yeah.
and-
Most of them are not from Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
The majority
Right.
are not
The
from
other
Mexico.
thing, Mexico is like, we'll help you, but also we are not really stopping anyone from entering our country. Theoretically, with a lot of the stuff, if you're claiming amnesty, you're supposed to stop in the first country. And instead, they're like, yep, keep going to America. Sounds great. Fly to Canada, enter through the northern border.
I want to jump to this story. It's a tweet from ALX. DC U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves is making clear the DOJ is now going to target Americans who were around the Capitol on January 6th, but did not enter the building. As we enter this 2024, understand that it's only just begun. And I've made this, I made this warning before. After this, I said they're going to go after journalists, which they're doing.
Yep.
And without calling out any of these individuals, I've talked to some journalists, and we all know Steve Baker, Blaze contributor, is being targeted. And I've told these guys, hey, look, man, they're like, I have a congressional press pass. I have a press pass. And I'm like, you think that matters? With what we're seeing, you think that matters? Look, the Democrats will cheer for it, and they'll make up some argument as to why you as a journalist should get locked up. The Krasensteins will play defense, where the people like the Krasensteins will come out and say, I don't know if journalists should be getting arrested, but I really do think the courts should decide. And when they do, that's the right choice. Then a heavily biased jury will hear that a conservative journalist was in the Capitol, and they will say, you should go to prison. I want to play this clip for you so you can hear exactly what the DC U.S. attorney had to say. It's only 30 seconds long.
Inside of the building. An important note when it comes to our prosecutions about those who remained outside the building. We have used our prosecutorial discretion to primarily focus on those who entered the building or those who engaged in violent or corrupt conduct on Capitol grounds. But if a person knowingly entered the restricted area without authorization, they had already committed a federal crime. Make no mistake, thousands of people occupied an area that they were not authorized to be present in the first place.
Let's break down what he said. People who knowingly. Then he says thousands of people, as if to imply all of them. What's coming next, I think, is going to shock the psyche of the American people. When we go from, what are we at, 1,000 or so prosecutions or convictions, 890 some odd years Joe Biden was bragging about. It's going to be wild when they've been setting up these Capitol police offices across the country. We know they did it in Florida and California. It's going to be wild when you could have been someone who was just standing there in the grass.
Yeah.
Owen Schroyer didn't go in the building. He went to prison. The precedent is already there. You did not have to go in the building to get arrested. Owen Schroyer. Now, thousands of people are at risk. Hey, here's an easy way to remove thousands of Trump voters. Arrest them so they can't vote. Don't be surprised if come August, we start seeing mass raids overnight. Pop, just people getting locked up. We won't even know who these people are. Take a look at the censorship waves of Twitter. We all know about the high profile censorship, but the big play when Twitter was censoring people was they were targeting small accounts that no one knew about or could defend. A Trump supporter with 300 followers gets banned. Who's he going to tell and who's going to report it? The same thing will start happening. But I believe the next play is going to be to go after people who posted on social media before January 6th in support of January 6th. There were high profile individuals tweeting out support for violence. Now we know that you can be Ray Epps and advocate people crash into the building several times and guide people there. And you will get recommendation I think, 6 months? And if you're Enrique Tarrio, who wasn't even in DC, 20 years. What do you think's going to happen to the people who are on social media in the weeks leading up to January 6th who are saying that people should engage in these activities? I want to clarify. I'm not talking about a guy who went on social media and said, I think people should protest. And no. They may come after that kind of stuff. I'm talking about there were high profile commentators who were saying that people should engage in more, let's just call it direct actions, including physical protest on the grounds up to the point of entering the building.
Let's not be naive. Up until January 6th, a lot of people were calling for a big protest. I mean,
the left was calling. Actually, the left was calling.
But hold on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The left was too.
I'm not worried about the people who are being like, we got to protest in DC. Yeah. I'm saying there were high profile people with hundreds of thousands of followers saying things like storm the building. They will come after those people. We've already seen some people flee the country. Some you know about, some you never heard of. But people who were there, funny, they're gone. I mean, they post on social media. I'm not going to say their names. But I would not be surprised to find that there's one guy, a couple 100,000 subscribers. One day we hear the feds raided him. I was never in DC. I was never there. And they're like, here's multiple videos of you telling people to engage in criminal activity. You're under arrest.
Well, that's who they'd want to get more than somebody that was there. They want somebody that has more influence. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. But what they did was entrapment. They knew there was FBI agents there. I mean, whether they tell us that they're there or not. So we talked about Jeffrey Epstein earlier about the honeypot. This was the biggest honeypot of our entire generation, I believe, because a lot of people knew what was going on that day. Like the FBI, they knew that there were going to be people there. We talked about this earlier, the mag locks. People wouldn't have gotten in the building if somebody didn't press a button to let them in. So
there's a video of people, there were already people inside. They climbed through windows. Mm-hmm. But there was a big crowd at a door that was magnetically locked. There's a video where people walk up to it, like 3 or 4 people. They turn around and look up and point to the door. Someone hits the release. It could be a protester who broke in, a rioter. It could be a security, who knows? But I will say, even CNN has reported on more than one occasion evidence that police fanned people in. 2 stories. One, you've got CNN reporting Joe Scarborough's outrage over the fact that police let people in the building and opened the doors. CNN reports Joe Scarborough says, you effing opened the doors for them to the Capitol Police. CNN also reported on a man who was acquitted because the judge agreed. The police waved him into the building. Now, I'd just like to point out real quick to the CNN guys who are trying to rag on Vivek Ramaswamy. The definition of inside job, do you know what the definition of inside job is? It's actually really, really, really light. Let me just pull it up for you. A crime committed by or with the assistance of a person living or working on the premises where it occurred. So if the police effing opened the door, as CNN reported, Joe Scarborough complained about, I would call that an inside job, wouldn't you?
Of course. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that obviously the government knew that they were going to come in. And when you talk about people getting prosecuted for just being around, I mean, Tim, they created, a lot of people would have just got misdemeanor trespassing, but they created, you interrupted a federal meeting. Now they're all charged with felonies now. Yeah. So, I mean, the idea that they're going to go after people that just were bystanders outside. No, they're going to go after everybody. I mean, I just don't, he said, I think it was a resource issue. Not that they have more resources. They're going to continue to go after more people.
It's your tax dollars at work under Biden.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know, we saw this happen with Brandon Straka, and it was interesting, the quote unquote double standard there between how he was treated and how Ray Epps has been treated.
Yeah.
Because we saw Ray Epps clearly on tape whispering in a person's ear before they break in.
He's in the front line storming the barricades.
Yeah, telling people we need to storm it.
He's like, we need to go inside. We got to go inside.
And
everyone's yelling no.
Everyone's yelling Fed at him. They're calling him a Fed. And it's funny because the way the media was responding to this very obviously strange silence from the agencies on what he had done, the media's response is, well, he didn't go in the building. He didn't go in the building. Come on. What kind of conspiracy theories do you guys believing? He didn't go inside. Okay, Brandon Straka didn't either. And they were threatening him with like 20 years and he had to plea down.
There were members of the Proud Boys that went away who had not gone in the building. I mean, this is like...
Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. What I think the worst part of this is going to be regular Americans who were there to see Trump speak, who wandered over, who are not specifically involved in anything, who are now going to live in fear. They're going to question whether they should display Trump flags at their house. They're going to question what they should say online. They're going to live in paranoia because they don't know. And
there's already people who fled the country.
I mean, I think there are regular Americans I know who were on lawn in DC. Coincidentally, they were there to see Trump speak, who are saying, like, I don't know if I should travel internationally. I'm afraid to go to the airport. It really is going to mess with the psychology of the base of Trump. Some of them will dig their heels in and say, I don't care, come get me. But for a lot of people, they'll be afraid of what they're risking by being open about what they believe in.
My favorite thing that I've seen so far, there are a lot of high-profile individuals, as I've mentioned, who were cheering on before January 6th happened. And it may be because they love to just be these boisterous characters on the internet. We're saying things like, yeah, we're going to go to the Capitol, blah, blah, blah. And then to see these people so quickly after January 6th, no, Trump's bad. I'm opposed to Trump now. I don't think anyone should vote for him. I'm for someone else. I'm like, oh, are you? Or are you hoping and praying that they'll overlook you because you've bent the knee to the deep state?
Yeah. I think that's the real question. Anything to freak Trump voters out and also to panic Democrats, right? Like every time they put out a thing saying we've arrested however thousands of people, like the day before the anniversary of January 6th, they said there's been over 1,000 arrests made in connection to January 6th, and that's both it has two effects. It angers people who feel like that is ultimately entrapment day, and it makes Democrats think they're all around me. It's my neighbors. If they've already arrested 1,000 people, how many people got away? And it's to scare them into voting for whoever their candidate is. Even if they don't like Biden, at least he is not a Republican, because all Republicans are bad. That's the narrative that they want out there. And that is very divisive. I mean, this is what really bothers me about the Biden campaign right now, which is ultimately they are leveraging fear above anything else, but claiming that that's Trump, that Trump is the one saying, oh, you should be afraid, or we're going to do whatever. They misquote him with his, like, I'll be a dictator for one day all the time to make you feel as though you, being the average, Democrat, maybe moderate voter, think that if you don't act now, the world is about to fall apart, when that's just fundamentally not true. It's a lie that the left is selling.
Yeah, definitely. They've been selling the idea that even from the beginning, I remember them saying, oh, what did they think? Taking over the Capitol really do anything to affect the U.S. government? Are they crazy? Like,
it turns out, yes, because it gives us a reason to prosecute people who don't agree with us. And in fact, a way to hold up Trump's strongest supporters as the enemy of the state.
Well, before we switch topics, I just want to say this. Tomorrow, Ray Epps' court date is tomorrow at 10 a.m., so I'm going to be outside the courthouse, see what happens. So we'll see. And if I get a chance to yell at him, I'm going to call him a Fed. No, that's allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble for it.
One thing I'm actually curious about here, too, with some of these people, especially what we call the MAGA tourists, are the application of statute of limitations. So my understanding, I think what trespassing is like 2 or 3 years for statute of limitations. So some of this stuff, I don't think they would be able to go after.
Well, that's why they add the felony. No, I'm telling you.
So that they can go after.
But they can't go after them as it is. And they've already got people on trespassing. Mm-hmm. And I made this point in 2021 that if it's a Simpsons joke. Homer's talking to, who's he talking to? And he's like, you mean if I can invite someone I'm legally allowed?
That's right.
And then he's like, hey, Flanders, come over here. He's like, it doesn't work if you invite him in. Mm-hmm. It does not work if you invite him in. You can't invite someone somewhere then arrest them for it. Mm-hmm. And this is what we see happening. The police opened the doors and were fanning people in. The argument from the left is, no, they were fanning the cops to come in. Does not matter. There's no signs. There's no barricades. You can make an argument that the people who tore the barricades down and removed them, they committed the crimes. Agreed. The people who walked in afterwards, seeing cops waving people in, they thought they were being let in. Right. So the first thing that has to happen is, sir, you need to leave. You're trespassing. Sorry about that. I'll leave. Then if they refuse, now you say, okay, you've been warned. Now you're trespassing under arrest. So they shouldn't have even been able to go after these people in the first place. Yeah. So and they'll make up reasons.
And we'd all agree that if they just charged these people with misdemeanors and gave them all probation, nobody would even be mad. But the fact that they're throwing the book at the MAGA granny, people that have cancer, I mean, you can tell that, it's malicious what they're trying to do.
The granny was from a different state. Everyone keeps posting that picture of the old lady.
Yeah, I know that was a different one. I'm talking about the one that had cancer, I think she was like 67. Yeah.
Considering we have the conspiracy-minded Alex Stein in, I'd like to jump to this story from Forbes. Cockpit voice recorder on Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 was erased. All right, so a few days ago, there was an Alaskan Airlines flight from Portland to Ontario, Canada. It was, it was Ontario, California, I think it was. Yeah. I don't know, whatever. A section of the plane exploded and was ripped off the plane. I'm being a little hyperbolic. The pressure caused it to blow off the side of the plane. A couple cell phones flew out. A bunch of people's stuff, I guess, flew out. The depressurized cabin, the oxygen masks come down. The initial report was that a window blew out. Then you look at the video. I don't know if they have the video on the Forbes website. But you look at the video, it was actually, apparently these 737 MAX 9s have an optional door. Alaska Airlines says, we don't want a door there, so just cover it up. And the pressure caused to get ripped off the plane and go flying and landed in someone's backyard. The cockpit voice recorder on that flight was erased. The question is why? Now they'll come out and say, oh, it's just an accident. It's an accident. But I wonder if there's actually some malfeasance in that. Right now, it's an argument that the planes are no good. Following this report, we've got new information that loose bolts are found on door plugs on grounded United Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets. These door plugs are areas of the plane. They're not emergency exits. They're optional. Some they do use, some they don't. I'm wondering how much of this is actually the planes are bad, or are we looking at a diversity hire problem where we have these pilots who are incapable of doing their jobs, and so you're getting pilot error. Maybe the cabin was pressurized incorrectly, causing the door to blow out. They're then yelling in the cockpit, what did you do? What did you press? Oh no, I pressed the wrong button. And then they realize we will get in trouble and be sued if people find out what we admitted to here. So they erase the black box voice recorder. So then it's oops, we have no idea. It must just be the planes are no good. Ashley St. Clair was tweeting about a flight that landed from Newark, New Jersey, and it bounced on the runway, hard landing, nearly totaling the plane. I think the plane is disabled. It, like the fuselage looks like it was bent and cracked up. And according to Ashley St. Clair, or I should say, she asked whether or not this was a diversity hire who was fired and then rehired, even though they shouldn't have been. We got a pilot shortage. Flight cancellations like crazy. Are these airlines hiring in large numbers, and are they hiring for diversity? Because we know Boeing's all about it. Take a look at this. Global Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Report. I'm wondering if what's really happening is the infrastructure failures we're seeing are due to the fact that all of these companies for the past decade plus have been prioritizing hiring based on ideology instead of meritocracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have that terrible transportation secretary, right? Pete Buttigieg, who has no reason to have his job. I mean, this system is failing both privately and in terms of the government.
It's also interesting, just as a consumer, how much worse airline travel has gotten since 2020. It's terrible. It's terrible. Flights get canceled all the time. I literally, just this past weekend, I had a flight somewhere, and the airline canceled my flight morning of and rerouted it to a different city. They're like, hey, like a city that was like an hour away. I was like,
they're like, close enough. Have a good time.
You can't just like send me somewhere else. That's not where I was trying to fly. It was
switch. So I had a flight from Vegas to, I think it was Dallas to DC. Without telling me or asking me, they switched my ticket from a first class to a coach, last minute booking to Colorado to DC without telling me. So we show up to the airport, tickets don't work. I'm confused. I'm like trying to scan the ticket to go through security. And then I look at my email and it's like, your flight has been changed. And I was like, wait, what? So they put me, I pay for this ticket. It's expensive. And I end up sitting in the way back in a chair that like can barely recline.
Wow.
It's a 777.
So
next to the toilet.
Did they reimburse you?
Not kidding. No.
They didn't reimburse you. You paid for first class and you had to sit in
You
the
have to
back
like
of the
call the airline to get the reimbursement. It's a pain.
But the issue was,
wow.
None of my flights were canceled. There was a weather alert in Dallas and it was delayed, but that didn't mean anything. Yeah. My flight would have landed there just fine, and then I could have waited for the delay. And they said, it's better if we just put you on this flight now so you can catch the Denver to DC. And I'm like, I'll just take the delay. Yeah. It's insane. And there's no human beings. No. When we showed up to the airport, because we have an early morning flight from DC to come back home, from Vegas to DC, there were no human beings anywhere. When I walked up to a counter, I see a United worker. I said, I have a question. I know it's the wrong gate. And she goes, I'm not on yet. And I was like, I'm sorry to bug you. Maybe you could point me in the right direction. And then she's like, nope. I was like, okay.
Dude, it's great. I think a few months ago, I had a flight that was delayed for a solid 8 hours. I was like, you could have just they did that annoying thing where they delay it 1 hour at a time so you won't leave.
Right.
I was like, just tell me how long it's delayed for. Yeah.
And
then I literally sat there for an entire day. I was like, I could have got a different flight or I could have left or done something. That's exactly. They don't want you to. That's why they lie to you.
When a flight is canceled, they've got 100 to 300 people now rushing to the ticket counter to try and get new flights. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They'd rather you just sit there. Mm-hmm. and let their, they don't want you causing trouble.
Yeah, and I don't want to come across as xenophobic, but if I walked in and I saw 2 women in the cockpit, I would get off that plane. I mean, seriously, I mean...
My bigger issue, in all seriousness, is what if you get on a plane and you see that 80% are migrants carrying envelopes, and we've got reports, Ashley St. Clair reported she's in possession of a ticket that says no name given.
No, I saw the tweet.
I'm not going to sit on a plane knowing that there's a person who's not been vetted from security.
And this is what's hilarious, right? The left pushes for so much documentation everywhere all the time, down to like a COVID vaccine
Not
they
to
wanted people
vote.
to have on their smartphones. Yeah, except for when it comes to voting, except for when it comes to migration.
Well,
There's
people
literally
who crossed
everything
the
else.
border illegally during that time were not asked to get vaccinated.
That's exactly right.
But it
it's
was
just like-
a requirement for legal immigration.
Exactly. So for you as an individual, you are documented. Every moment, every inch of your life is totally documented. It's just, there's so much paperwork and red tape associated with everything you do. And then when it comes to illegal immigrants, they go, well, let's not call them illegal. They're just undocumented. It's like, wait, don't you guys hate things being undocumented? Why are
Nikki-
you okay with this being
Nikki
undocumented?
Haley said they're
Having a
not
rough
criminals.
day.
Not criminals, yeah, and that's
And then,
rude
and
to do
then
that.
Twitter did a community
literally
notes.
are.
Twitter community note said it's quite literally a crime to enter the country illegally. They're criminals under this section.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley is, man, she's evil.
She is. She's really evil, right? Because she is. She's so callous about the interests of the American people. She's okay with waging war. She literally wanted boots on the ground in Ukraine. So she's supposedly just this totally hawkish person with respect to foreign policy, and yet she all of a sudden just has a bleeding heart when it comes to migration.
I
Are
know.
you kidding me?
Well, you know what that reminds me of? Like, have you seen where their celebrities now are writing their names on the bombs that are being used in Gaza?
No.
Yeah, and like,
What?
yeah, supposedly
Is that real?
Yeah, some Israeli porn stars or whatever got in trouble because they let a porn star, write on one of the bombs supposedly. But I always think that's very, morbid, very macabre to write your name on a bomb when you know this is. I don't care which side you're on, but that's kind of like where we're at of the weirdness of this whole. I think.
That's so
No, I think
messed up.
I look at everything we're seeing with just the extreme political actions that are happening. I mean, the border is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mexico wanting to
Well, the border's gone for them because Tim, you and I need a passport to leave. I can't leave the country without a passport, so the border's closed for you and I.
but they're bringing people in, and I just look at all this, and how do we get through this election cycle? I don't know how come November 2024, November 6th, it's going to be November 5th, we get election day. Does anyone really believe that on November 6th, they're going to be like, and that's it, the winner of the election is, and have a name?
No, of course they won't be like that. I mean, the thing is, this is going to be hard fought all the way, and we have known this for a long time. When Trump was elected in 2016, do you remember all the pictures from flights of like women in their pink hats going to the rally? Like, there has been this test of like, if you're the right side, you're allowed to protest, but if you're the wrong side, you're not allowed to do anything. That's been there for a long time, but our tension and our anger and the distrust of the other side is more heightened than ever. So I think November 6th will be a really chaotic day, and it will lead to a very chaotic 2025.
That's understatement of the year. I think 2025 is going to be crazy. This next election cycle is
I
going to
think
be crazy.
24 is going to be like one of the
No,
most exciting
2025 might be super chill.
You think after it's all done, after everything's burned down?
Yeah, we're sitting there with like,
Well, what about-
we'll be
okay,
wearing
but-
potato sacks, sitting outside playing with chickens.
Okay, what's the new Obama movie on Netflix? Talking about how there's going to be a cyber attack.
Yep.
I think there is going to be a cyber
I agree.
attack this year. And you know what's going to be the scary part? We keep on saying all this stuff about airplanes. That's what really gets messed up if the internet goes down. All of a sudden, planes are going to start crashing, and then you're really going to be like, I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
It's not that planes aren't going to crash; they're not going to fly. When the
Well,
system,
what's a surge where you can turn off computers? I know I can't think of
EMP.
the term. Yes. What if they
EMP,
use that and all of a sudden the airplanes in the air?
it would be you're not going to EMP the whole planet.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about a small part of it. I mean, forget the whole
If
planet.
the internet goes out, planes will emergency land and then be unable to take off. They're going to say we can't air traffic control properly. Our data streams are shut down. It's an emergency, and it's a very effective way to temporarily control flow of communication. Imagine what would happen. For everybody, we got 45,000 people. They're watching right now. What if the internet went down? What would you watch? Are you really going to turn on CNN, MSNBC? There's no internet, but TV still works. And they say, turn on the radio, turn on the TV, and now you're getting the approved government narrative.
Yep.
Well, I think in this day and age, the TV and that stuff would go off with the internet too. You think they would still be able to broadcast?
Absolutely. Yep.
They would just be using
Analog TV.
analog, whatever the
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I guess you are right.
It's still digital It's digital now, so you get multiple data streams over the airwaves, but they can still send through. Just you can buy TV, turn it on, and you can get the standard digital channels.
And what Hannah said earlier, I think that's the reason why so many boomers have cognitive. Hannah Claire, what did I say? Yeah, no, I'm just saying the reason why these.
Forgot half my name, but
well, sorry, I was just saying Hannah HC, Hannah Claire. What I'm saying is these boomers, they have such bad cognitive dissonance because they didn't have as many outlets like we had. They didn't have the internet to tell them the truth about the government. That these people know the government lies to them, but they still trust the government for some reason. We've lost all government trust because we have the internet. We know what the hell is going on,
and they got to take that away.
Yeah, and we can look up the Tuskegee syphilis. We can look up all this crazy stuff that is really not
the moon landing, right?
Hey, that's what I learned about. I'm just saying because of the internet, that's what's probably the biggest thorn in the government side.
Did you see the report? I don't know enough about it, but I passively saw it, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
From China that said the moon landing's fake?
No, they said that our current nuclear technicians don't know how to operate them fully because the people who actually ran and maintained them have long since retired, and the people who've inherited these jobs never had actual reason to.
So it's like Homer Simpson.
Dude, that's like
literally like Homer Simpson.
That's like 30% of our infrastructure.
And so when you say, how did we lose technology for the moon landing? The exact same reason why they're saying our current technicians don't know how to operate our nuclear weapons.
Well, don't even get me started. That's apples and oranges. I do agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get started on the moon landing. But yeah, I'm not surprised that these idiots can't figure out how. Like, look at our buildings. Look at all the postmodernism, all of our architecture.
Remember
Everything sucks.
The bridge that collapsed in Florida?
Was that recently? I didn't.
No, this was like.
In Miami, you're talking about the pedestrian bridge?
The pedestrian bridge.
Yeah, and it killed like 2 students.
6 people.
Yeah.
I could be updated since then. I don't know. But there were memes going around saying a female-led construction company had built it. And then the fact checkers came out and said, did an all-female construction company build it? See, what happens is people pointed out that this company was promoting diversity. They were promoting female construction workers. They're doing ads saying women are strong. They did all this. But only a small portion of the women and people in management were women. And so it was run and owned by a bunch of guys. But they kept bragging about the women who were in charge. So when people came out and said that it was a female-led company, in order to try and quote-unquote debunk it, or I guess you'd call it a faux bunk, it's not a real debunking, the media changed female-led to all-female. Well, of course the company wasn't all-female. And they said, it's owned by a man, therefore they're lying.
Fellas, here's what we got to do. All right, this is my version of DEI. You get your company, you get a couple positions just for women, you appoint them, then when anything goes wrong, you blame them.
That's what they do.
You're like, this is all the women's fault. There's nothing. Look, it's girl power and all. With great girl power comes great girl responsibility.
There was a black woman who posted on Instagram that she gets her face put on all the corporate brochures. She never gets brought into meetings. And she's like, this is how you know you're a diversity hire.
Yeah, but I mean, guys, there are gender roles. Some women are not going to be plumbers. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know why we don't just...
Yeah, because the patriarchy stops them.
We should encourage this.
As it should.
I mean...
No, they stop themselves. Like that.
Should.
That's what the crazy thing is. I wish.
A country full of men who allow women to do gross jobs is a country that doesn't have enough.
But you'd have to
doesn't have enough men.
You'd have to conscript them. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Women are all good when they're like, but I deserve to be CEO of the company. But as soon as you're like, please go to the oil rig, they're like, I cannot. No, thank you. That would be mean to me. I'm not equipped for that. They don't want any of the responsibilities that men take on because, like, any sort of negative or less glamorous position. Women don't want that. They only want to have the heralds and acolytes that they perceive that men are getting, and they aren't willing to pay the consequences for that. Like, it's a completely ridiculous system that they have invented.
And the end result is social collapse.
Yeah, but what about the Disney director that said they want to make people uncomfortable, make men uncomfortable?
Imagine if right now, so here's what we have. We have women who want equality in the equity in the workplace, they call it. They want 50-50, parity. Then you have men who keep saying, no, women shouldn't go work in the sewers and sludge around in human waste. We'll do that job. The system would collapse overnight if men actually just all at once completely agreed and said, you know what? Half the people on our team in the sewer, cleaning out all the sewage and the blockages should be female. Then they say, well, there aren't any. Then we won't work. I will not go down there until my team is half male, half female.
You have to create like a weird Title IX, but it's to get women to do like gross jobs in society.
Women will not do it. So if men one day decided I won't, then society collapses because women will not. There will never be a circumstance where you will mandate half the population of women to go work on oil rigs. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, and this is true in domestic labor too, right? Like we know there's a ton of stuff that girls just don't want to do. They're happy to do other things. And I think that's what bothers me the most about, the feminist narrative, which is that it's essentially saying men are the enemy and they're keeping you from doing things that would make you happy. But also, we are not willing to compromise. We want all the benefits of being female. Also, we want all the benefits of being male. We want none of the responsibility of either sex.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I mean, look, the reality is there are a lot of things that men aren't going to do either, right? There's a lot of domestic labor.
Have
There's a lot of
babies.
stuff around the house. I mean, we're really not going to do that. But there's a lot of
Well,
stuff
hold on,
around
hold
the
on.
house that, for the most part,
I gotta
men just
stop you.
aren't going to want to do. There's a lot of homemaker stuff. There's a lot of
Men
like
aren't gonna
a
have
stay-at-home dad. Well, when we start implanting those wombs, right?
No. When we make artificial baby bags,
What?
men are inventing a way
Oh,
to
man.
have babies without women.
Oh my gosh, they have
And-
to
and-
make one of those that yells at you, and then that's a.
Pope Francis is
and
against
I'm
this.
saying
That's a joke.
and
Women are wonderful.
And I'm saying it's men doing it because the overwhelming majority of the people working in these fields and doing the development and the research are males. Men are going to create a way to have babies without women.
Men are going to go their own way. Is that what you're saying?
All the
Yes.
MGTOW scientists.
Wait, if that
Yeah,
happened, do you think but do you think gay men or lesbian women would take over the world if they could just artificially?
Who
do you think
will
would
win?
Yeah, because that's what it's going to be. If they
no, no,
artificially,
no,
I'm
no.
just saying. This is my point. I'm saying if they artificially make a womb, then they basically want to get rid of heterosexual sex, or they want to, they want to make something totally different.
If we create artificial wombs, women lose all political power. They will lose
I don't think so.
all. Yeah, absolutely.
See,
I don't
think
know,
the
man.
Bro,
I think
dude,
the women
look.
could.
Because I don't think people value women as mothers anymore anyway. Like I think it's all about like sexual objectification and their sexual
And that's
power.
good. And so what's going to happen is with Neuralink and baby bags, women lose all political power.
I think that's true because I think you already see that with modern surrogacy, right? I mean, this is what Pope Francis was talking about today, that he was saying it is ultimately a form of trafficking and it's wrong for children. It's despicable. This is like his word for word quote. And I think that women, I think it's two things. I think basically their voluntary participation in the porn industry, them deciding they want to be on OnlyFans, and also their voluntary participation in commercial surrogacy makes it so anything they have to offer the world can be commodified and sold for $1, and probably you can make artificial technology that does it better, like a baby bag, like AI porn. And so I think this is a mistake that women are making. And I think on top of that, we're severing the value of parents, right? Men and women both play a really important role in their children's lives from the beginning of time. And this is true while women are gestating, men still play an important role, and it's true after birth.
We
They play an
open
important
jars.
role. Yes, that's
Yeah, but
exactly.
the
Take out the trash.
denuclearization is what they've been talking about forever.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's what's sad. It's like saying everything that makes us unique as human beings, that gives us humanity, is ultimately something you can buy, trade, and sell. And probably we could make some soulless metal contraption that could do it better.
Well, you know what?
And that's not true in my opinion.
You're right, because when it comes to human labor and when it comes to production, the only thing we think about anymore is the end product that actually ends up being produced by the process, and not what the person is transformed into through the work. And so we see this with jobs being broken up into components so small that a person can't really find that much meaning in their work because they don't actually have any kind of vision of the larger picture in the way that they're contributing to it. And it's a very, very sad thing. I was having a conversation with someone a few months ago, and they said something very eye-opening to me. He was just talking about how people used to live and how we would farm, and we were much more in tune with the seasons and the days, and sort of our own circadian rhythm was not as thrown off by the technology we use. And I remember saying, like, I get it, and people can romanticize that, but that was tremendously difficult. That was a tremendously difficult life to live, and those jobs were far harder than sitting in an office and working in an office. And he said, yeah, but is sitting in an office better for you? And it kind of clicked for me. I'm not saying that we go back to an agrarian society by any means, but my point is just that it's interesting food for thought. The jobs that we have, even though they're more productive, they're actually not good for us. And people might argue, oh, well, these new ways of having technology usurp roles that were traditionally meant for human beings, or things like artificial wombs literally taking that role, which was just uniquely for women, and turning it into a technological product. That's really bad for human beings. That's really bad for human beings.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I would say 95% of corporate jobs, you really get no stake in the game. So even though you can be motivated with bonuses, if you really don't care about what you're doing, and you don't have anybody that's up in that company, I guess supporting you or gassing you up or encouraging you to do better, well, why would you thrive in a system like that if you don't really have any stake in the game?
Exactly, because at some point, money just isn't enough to get you to do a certain kind of job. It really is not enough. You have to actually believe in what you're making.
Did you ever hear about that? I don't know if the story's true or not, but the professor who challenged the students on socialism, it was like a viral TikTok or Instagram video where he basically said they were arguing the merits of socialism versus, capitalism. So then the professor said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to average out the grades of every single person in the class so that everyone will get an average grade instead of the grade for your test. And then the first test they take, everyone ends up getting like a C plus and a B or a B minus. And then the people who studied really, really hard and scored a 100 on the test were angry because they were like, I busted my ass studying and I ended up getting a bad grade because of this. The people who did nothing were super excited because they were like, I got a great grade and didn't have to do anything. Why do anything else? So the people who studied hard said, I'll adjust. I don't got to work as hard because I don't get any reward for working as hard, so I'll invest my time somewhere else. The next test they took, everyone got a C minus. Now people are starting to get angry, like, why is our score? Who's not holding their weight? Who's not doing the work? And then finally, in the third time, everybody failed. Because anybody worth doing work was like, what's the point when other people are celebrating not doing work?
That's right. And by the way, that's the best case scenario for socialism or communism. What usually ends up happening with communist governments is after the first test, they round up all of the people who did score 100% and say, you got that by cheating, and then they execute them.
Well, no, I'm anti-socialism 100%, but is capitalism the best system? I mean, I guess it is, but
it needs modification.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean,
what do you
well, I don't know. I mean, I guess some mix. I mean, I feel like I'm actually, I don't want the government involved at all, but I do feel like, I don't know what a system, I mean.
Yeah, capitalist economy, in my view, a capitalist economy with some regulation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine.
But that's not a mixed economy. A mixed economy like we have is half your money goes to taxes and half your money goes in your pocket.
Right.
Yeah, we need a flat tax. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, and I'm sure you're in a totally different tax bracket, Tim. You must be sick. I'm sick now because I'm in a higher bracket than I've been in the past few years.
But it's not just bracket. I think something like 65 or 70% of all my income is taxes or some ridiculous.
I mean, I pay over 40%. I paid over 40%. I think it was like 40.
So here's the trick they don't tell you about. Higher taxes means spending more money.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
If you're somebody, let's say you make $1 million a year, and you look at your taxes and like Joe Biden's raising your taxes. Let's say I have $100,000 in profit and I don't spend it.
Yep.
I write a check to the government for $40,000. How about I just spend the $100,000 and retain the asset value?
That's right.
No, but it's got to be specific things. Like I'll just say, screw it. Instead of having the money sitting around, I'll just hire a guy at $100,000 to paint, because at least the paintings are assets held by the company that retain value, and then I don't lose the money to the government.
Well, have you seen the TikTok that goes viral where it's like Bill 179, where if you buy a G-Wagon because it weighs over 6,000 pounds, you can write it off for a company, and that's why so many people buy the G-Wagon. It's gotten hundreds of millions of hits. You need to look it up because there's a few cars that hit that
like a
tax
certain
threshold.
weight, right?
Yeah, a certain
But
weight.
they can control the speed and expansion of the economy. That's the point of the Federal Reserve. It's the point of their tax policy. Modern monetary theory is not you're taxed so that the government gets money. No, the government just creates money upon the issuance of debt.
Yeah.
Taking money from you is just to control the speed at which people are hiring and firing people.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So as somebody who does run their own business, when you get your paycheck, they don't deduct anything from it, right? You're collecting money from clients or AdSense or sponsors, and then you have to cut that check yourself eventually, quarterly or once a year. And
Quarterly,
you really feel
it sucks.
You really feel it. And the thing is, you feel it and you go, if I really believed in what the government was doing, this wouldn't hurt so bad. Like if I really, even though this is way too much money, and I don't think anyone should be taxed at this level, and I really think there's something wrong with the amount the government takes in general. But if I believed what they were doing, and I thought they were doing good things with it, it wouldn't hurt nearly as bad. It really.
I got to be honest. Based on how much money I've already been taxed, I, as a single individual, am probably responsible for at least one wedding that's been blown up.
Yeah, more than one.
Yeah, multiple.
But isn't this what they say about Scandinavian countries that have high social security nets? Is that they actually say like people in Denmark are like, no, we're cool to pay these taxes because ultimately we like the benefits that we reap from them. I mean, it's one of the reasons that they are so disturbed by mass immigration, which is that they realize there are people coming in who don't pay into the system. Yeah. I mean, there are people that have extremely high tax rates. They have a large, social safety net from the government, and it's okay. It's just not true in America because our system doesn't have either one of the benefits, right?
It's not fair. It's not equal.
We don't have the benefits that people might want, and we don't have the low, but we have the high taxes. So what are we ultimately doing here?
I think the challenge, one of the big challenges is stupid people versus smart people and evil people as well. So like when I look at the Democrats, what do I tend to see? There are very few but very smart evil people and a whole lot of really, really dumb people. When I look at the quote unquote right, I don't mean just the Democrats, because the right is a collection of libertarians, conservatives. I see a lot of people who are moderately intelligent and a handful of people who are very, very stupid. Because stupid people exist everywhere. But if you have a handful of people who, if you have commentators on the right who are like, I'll try to be honest, and I believe in liberty, which means you got to make your own choices, the stupid people end up with a moderately better understanding of the world and their freedoms, whereas the Democrats believe insane things that make no sense. I'll give you an example. Marianne Williamson tweeted, Kyle Griffin of NBC News said, Elise Stefanik will not commit to certifying the 2024 election. Marianne Williamson said, this is insane. Let's break it down. What did Elise Stefanik actually say? She said, if it's constitutional, yes, I'll certify it, which is quite literally a commitment to certify the election.
Yep.
Because if it wasn't, then the purpose of her job is to not certify it. Marianne Williamson gets this fake story from Kyle Griffin of NBC. He's lying, misleading through omission to trick people like Marianne Williamson who believes it. Marianne Williamson is I suppose you'd call this the ignorance of evil. We all here like Marianne because she's a nice person and she's a good moral person, but she believes wrong things. And we believe that if we actually just talked to her, she'd understand. And she did when she came on the show. When we showed her the creepy books and everything, she's like, these things are wrong. And we're like, because you're a good person. We know you are. But if she believes NBC, she lives in a world of lies. And so this is what we end up dealing with in the culture war. The left is a whole bunch of really, really dumb people. And so when it comes to trying to solve our problems, you have disgusting, evil people like Oliver Darcy, like Kyle Griffin. And then you're like, how do we actually make the world a better place when you have figurative or literal demons lying to stupid people to trick them into harming themselves?
Well, I mean, everything you hear on the mainstream media from NBC is fake. And I think people are starting to realize that, though, Tim, don't you think? Or do you think people are still kind of under that brainwash?
I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to it. And I think programs like this and the shift in how we consume media is helping change this. Podcasts are taking over. But this is the big challenge we have right now. There would be no question of the 2024 election if we didn't have NBC News and CNN and MSNBC lying about everything.
Yeah.
These people they're evil. It's not a question. It's malicious evil.
You and I were actually talking about this earlier today at lunch. It would basically be like if a health inspector was asked, will you pass this restaurant? And they're like, I mean, if
no.
It's healthy.
It's someone comes to you and says, will building inspector, will you commit to certifying my building that I will build next year? Like, what do you know? I have to check to see it was built right.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
If it's up to code, then yeah.
And then I report building inspector will not commit to certifying the building. It's
Exactly.
like, well, you didn't build it yet.
He'd actually be really bad at his job if he did commit to certifying it before seeing it.
Yep. That's where we're currently at. Democrats are shocked first at a fake story. NBC News is the most captured institution in the media apparatus.
You think worse than CNN?
Absolutely.
Wow.
NBC
Worse than ABC Disney?
Yes, no question. The NBC News team, like Ben Collins, they fabricate the most egregious things imaginable as a statement of fact. They put out fabricated narratives. Come at me, bro. Statement of fact. They do it, and I believe they do it intentionally. I'd love to get Discovery on these guys. And it's remarkable. They give these people awards. Look, Elise Stefanik was asked, would she certify the election? She goes, yeah, if it's constitutional, of course. Yes. She said yes. And what does NBC News report? She will not commit to certifying the election. That's a lie. That's just fake. They fabricated that. And then Marianne Williamson believes it. And she's running for president and polling in some of the latest polls at 13%. It's amazing, isn't it?
The same media company, I mean, the only reason I would say ABC is, you saw that video where they were trying to bring up Jeffrey Epstein years ago, and then they killed that story.
Right, but whether or not, I think NBC News as a whole is like a fake news machine.
Well, Fox News, I think Tucker Carlson ran into this. Like, you think, oh, this is a conservative media company, but there's a lot of liberal people that work in there that are just in Hollywood, that are in show business. I mean, like, do you trust any of the political biases of any of these networks? I mean, I really don't. Like, I don't even
None
think,
of them.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
Fox
but
News is very
NBC News
conservative.
is a king of the castle, man.
Yeah, because I guess the biggest.
I mean, look, NBC News, they did this thing once where some activists wrote a fake story about me. NBC News then cited it in an article. Then a bunch of entertainment outlets quoted NBC News. NBC News then removed the citation, creating a dead loop of a bunch of entertainment news organizations citing each other with no actual source for where the claim came from.
The original thing was like a blog or something? Is that they cited?
Yeah, it was a blog.
Just something, yeah.
It was some guy's blog.
Yeah.
And then when I contacted one of these entertainment outlets saying, hey, this is a fake story, I want a correction, they say, take it up with insert other outlet because they're the ones who are making the claim. Then I went to that. So outlet 1 says, talk to outlet 2. I go to outlet 2 and they go, hey, look, we're citing outlet 3. I went to outlet 3 and it goes, hey, look, we're citing outlet 1. So if it was just 2 outlets and they're claiming each other, I could point out, you guys are just citing each other. With 3 outlets, they said, I don't know what NBC is doing. We're citing this website. And then I said, yeah, but that website's citing NBC. And they were like, I don't know anything about that. Take it up with them. You can't sue me for defamation because it's already in the public sphere. And we believe that what's reported by insert outlet is correct. So none of them will take it down. That's NBC News. These people are despicable evil. They know they're lying. And they love playing this game where they go online and they go, Trump supporters are lying. And then when you stare them in the face and talk to them and say, here's the actual proof and report that you lied, they smile and say, good luck. Evil people, man.
I don't disagree. And then I see that on Wikipedia too, where like somebody will have some weird Wikipedia thing and it'll be cited to some random blog. You're like, how does that?
Well, this is, they call it, it was XKCD comic, called it cytogenesis, where they say the example, actually, let me pull up cytogenesis. It's really, really great. You'll understand how we are in a very serious, check it out. Where citations come from. Cytogenesis, step 1. Through a convoluted process, a user's brain generates facts. These are typed into Wikipedia. The scroll lock key was designed by future Energy Secretary Stephen Chu in a college project. Somebody makes something up. A rushed writer checks Wikipedia for a summary of their subject. U.S. Energy Secretary Stephen Chu, Nobel Prize winner and creator of the ubiquitous scroll lock key, testified before Congress today. Surprised readers check Wikipedia, see the claim, and flag it for review. A passing editor finds the piece and adds it as a citation. Google is your friend, people. Now that other writers have a real source, they repeat the fact. The simple version is, it's not just about Wikipedia. Someone will fabricate a story in the corporate press on purpose. Remember that big scandal? There's been a bunch. That one guy who worked for Bild in Germany was just making a bunch of things up and they caught him. Someone will make up something, or a better example, Kyle Griffin will tweet, Elise Stefanik will not commit to certifying the election. That's a fake story. That's fabricated by Kyle Griffin. He made that up. Someone like Marianne Williamson will see this and say, this is insane. And then, I don't know, insert CNN or any other news outlet will write a story saying, Marianne Williamson slams Elise Stefanik, saying it is insane that she refuses to certify the election. They will then say, NBC News reported Elise Stefanik says she will not certify the 2024 election. Mm-hmm. Something that never happened. Then every other corporate outlet will just rewrite what CNN wrote, citing CNN. If CNN figures out the mistake and they get rid of it, all these news outlets will just insert a different source and create another loop of fake news.
This happens in academia too. I can't remember who coined this term, but they refer to it as idea laundering.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You just
And
you
part of it
literally
is
just say anything, and then you get some citations. A couple people cite you, and then people cite them. And then
the
it's just a
language
big
is
chain.
manipulative, right? So
Yeah.
if I said, if you describe Seamus as, a thought criminal, and then I said, Seamus, who has been described in the past as a thought criminal, I am correct. You have described him as a thought criminal, but is he actually, or has he just been described that way?
I mean,
and it becomes this like echo chamber of like worsening criticism of Seamus, who obviously is the worst ever, but it's
This is the game they play because the corporate press loves to add descriptors to people for no reason.
That's right.
So, they'll say like Donald Trump, or like Julian Assange. He'll be in the news because he released a document. They'll say Julian Assange, accused rapist and blah, blah, blah. Even though it's
not relevant to the story.
But not true either. The issue is, what'll happen is, how many people have accused Bill Clinton of being a pedophile?
Everybody.
I mean, millions, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to report that in a story, Bill Clinton, comma, an accused pedophile, comma, is that a false statement of fact? Absolutely not. He's been accused by a lot of people of being a pedophile. And this is the game that the corporate press plays.
Well, speaking of pedophile, and I wanted to,
You have an aside from
a
pedophile?
little bit I do, because, a lot of people want to give Donald Trump credit for saying the fake news, but the first person to say fake news, and Tim, I'll kind of end on this conspiracy. My favorite conspiracy of them all, you asked me what my top one is. I believe Michael Jackson was innocent, only because he was, he was the first person to say that the news is fake. And then on top of that, he was investigated by the FBI for 19 years. And then Wade Robinson and James Safechuck, the two guys that made the documentary Leaving Neverland, Wade Robinson actually testified on his behalf twice in front of California's top prosecutor and said that nothing happened. And then James Safechuck said that he was, sexually assaulted inside the train station. In the year that he said it, the architect hadn't even drawn the plans. So my point is, there's a lot of weird inconsistencies with the Michael Jackson situation.
Yo, look at the
And he's the
Kavanaugh
first
stuff.
one to say fake news. So
It is very obvious that the left is willing to lie about anything if it advances their goals. The Brett Kavanaugh story is the perfect example of waves of people coming out with the most ridiculous fabrications.
what was Amy Coney Barrett? What do they say she did? That she was like a white nationalist or something?
They said they literally
Oh,
wasn't she had excuse me, an adopted child who was black, and they were trying and they were like trying to say she was racist because I was like, what?
We're going to go to Super Chat, so if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, head over to castbrew.com and buy Alex Stein's Primetime Grind, 2 times caffeine, drink responsibly. It does have 2 times the caffeine in it. So you got to be really careful with that. But you can also go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because the Uncensored Show will be coming up in about 20 minutes. And as a member, you get access to our Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals. There's pre-shows, there's after-shows, a vibrant community of people talking, debating, and building stuff. But more importantly, this show is made possible in part by viewers like you. If you like the stuff we do, tomorrow we will be flying on a jet right after the show ends. We have to run immediately out the door to an airport, get on a jet, fly to Iowa for the Vivek Ramaswamy Town Hall. If you support our endeavors in doing these things, we're not making a profit off of doing this. In fact, we're going to be losing a lot of money. These are very, very expensive. I'll just tell you guys, the whole thing's probably going to cost $100,000+. And we can afford to do it because you guys are members. We are not profiting off of it directly, in the sense that we're not going to, from the event and from ticket sales, have a surplus of cash. But I do believe it is healthy for the business that we do things like this, because it creates value. Granted, it is only possible to invest in these kinds of things if you guys become members at timcast.com. Let's read. James Eaton with the first super chat saying, AI of Trump coming soon. We're going to get a video of Trump, and I'm warning you, it's not going to be Trump saying something crazy. It's going to be a video you've already seen of Trump slightly altered in a tiny way that changes the context in a dramatic way.
Not Epstein's Island?
Not Epstein Island. No one will buy it. The example I've given is, remember when Donald Trump said, and I'm not talking about the white nationalists or the neo-Nazis because they should be condemned totally. The example is that video, which we all know exists, it will emerge in a similar scenario. 2 videos will appear on the internet. One in which it says C-SPAN, Donald Trump speaks, and he says, and I'm not talking about the white nationalists or the neo-Nazis because they should be condemned totally. The second video will be him saying, because some of them should be condemned totally. That tiny alteration from they to some of them, or they to some, because some should be condemned totally, because they should be condemned. All I have to do is change one word. What'll happen then is Democrats will go nuts. Some should be condemned? I can't believe you would say this. Trump will then come out. I said, no, I said they should be condemned. Trump supporters will be like, here's the video. Democrats and Trump supporters will both claim both videos are the original videos. Good luck. If a video comes out of Trump on Epstein Island, doesn't matter. Trump supporters won't buy it. They'll say you're lying. A video comes out that is slightly altered in a tiny way, everyone's confused.
And that's easier to change.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says, the pimp on a blimp is here. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Facts. Hide them.
Yeah.
Would you ever do a cover of that song?
What, hide your wife, hide your kids.
The Shmoyo.
Anton, what was that guy's name? Anton
Dodson?
Dodson? Gosh, legendary guy.
He is.
But it was all thanks to Shmo Yoho, I believe, right? Who made the auto-tuned version of that.
That went super viral. Yeah,
that guy was just giving an interview and he said it. And then I think it was Shmo Yoho, I'm not sure, who made the auto-tuned version that went viral.
Where's the pimp
That's
on
a
the
great-
blimp
that-
cover
that
of
is a-
this?
that is
That's
a
what I want to
classic.
know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because honestly, that's kind of what I became most popular for, is doing stupid raps. I guess the first video that I ever got that got 20 million views was me doing a stupid, cringy, vaccinate my body, vaccinate me at the party. Yeah, so it's just funny how rapping, there's something about that, how it's powerful.
Culture Abduction says, today's my birthday. I'd love if Tim sounded like Nancy and Ian screamed like a chicken and Phil do his infamous yell and Alex just be yourself. Well, Phil and Ian aren't here, but I will say this. Happy birthday to you. And Donald Trump is the worst president this country has ever had.
Tim, I have to say too, your Trump that you just did a second ago, I mean, you're getting really spot on. I think that's from all the practice. That was very accurate.
I think it's actually one of my worst.
No, I was just blown away by it. I'm not even
I've
trying
done
to
it.
kiss your butt. I've heard you do it a lot, but I feel like you were even more into it, the role, that time when you just did it again.
The Nancy voice that I do is an intentionally disgusting sounding voice because I'm not actually trying to impersonate her.
That's why it sounds a lot
you're
like her.
impersonating a caricature of her, kind of. Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it sound as disgusting as possible. And just like as strained and struggling as possible because it's meant to be an insult. Whereas Trump, I'm just trying to impersonate Trump.
Your Trump's accurate.
But that's rally Trump. Like, I can't do regular Trump. Like when Trump's just sitting there and he's like talking calmly, it's really hard to like get that. But when he's talking like this, and he's doing the thing and he like sighs, those rally voices are easy to get. Kalichnikov says, did you guys see the debate with Destiny and Alex Jones? I thought Alex was going to unleash his inner gorilla and maul Destiny's face. I just couldn't even with that debate. I didn't know what they were debating. All it was like, I'm sorry, guys. I can't do it. The
Krasenstein sitting right there made me want to puke.
But they weren't arguing anything.
Well, but did you see Alex Jones was kind of slapping Destiny's back, and he's like, "Don't touch me, bro." That was the best part of the whole debate.
No, you are. No, you are.
Yeah, no, you are.
That's why I'm like, they're not arguing. They're not debating. What would happen is, and there were some good points in there, but I will point out the issue I had with it was Alex Jones says, 1, 2, 3, ABC. And then Destiny would go XYZ, JKL. And I'm like, they're literally not arguing. Alex Jones would say something like, I think this about the Capitol. And then Destiny would bring up a total non sequitur and be like, I'll give you an example. Or I guess what I mean to say is, with the debate, I'm expecting someone to be like, Donald Trump should not be president. The 14th Amendment should remove him. That's my position. What is your position? I believe that he should not be removed. Now we will argue. They were arguing over whether or not they believed certain news articles were true or fake. And I'm like, that is meaningless. You agree with CNN, you don't agree with CNN. What is the point of this? So I'm just like, I don't even know, man. I can't handle that kind of stuff. That's just me.
Yeah, but you really, Destiny, you saw what happened to his wife. He's going through a divorce. He's really going through a tough time right now. That's rough.
I think you shouldn't have signed up for the debate.
If I'm going to debate someone like Destiny, then we can certainly argue if he's got something wrong, and I can pull up a source to prove him wrong. And if he and when he was here, we were talking about transgender youth. He told me that he believed my numbers were incorrect. We double checked. My numbers were incorrect. I'm totally fine with that. If Destiny says, I believe that Donald Trump is the reason for why the people were there on January 6th, which is what he said. My response is, if that is true, do you believe that not being present and not orchestrating an event makes you legally culpable? Instead, what we got is people yelling at each other. And whenever someone would make a point, the other person would change the subject. And so I was just like, I don't even know what's going on.
Well, internet debates, I don't know if it ever actually changes anybody's minds, right? It's just kind of like...
You know what? I
like
do.
real
If
debates.
people are totally
I do too,
undecided, I
but-
think you're right that there's a huge faction of people who aren't going to change their mind. Some people just love Alex Jones and are tuned in to see him. Some people just love Destiny and are tuned in to see him.
I heard somebody want a chicken scream for their birthday.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Microphone on. Happy birthday.
Ian's been here the whole time.
I had a heart attack.
Chicken
I thought we were
screaming.
getting swatted for a second.
That was
Was not
incredible.
prepared for that.
I love you, Alex.
Love you, Ian. Thank you for the scream. We love it.
Love you, big guy.
Okay, so who
But
was it?
I think some undecided people will change their mind. People who aren't fans of either. That
Culture Abductions, you got your birthday wish. Ian came and made it, and it came true.
was like top 10 moment for the show.
Yeah, that was great.
My
right.
pulse shot up when the door behind me opened.
I was
like,
hoping
what is
I was
happening?
hoping we were going to get swatted so we get like 1 billion views, but that's just where my head is.
So we got Keeker here says, won a good bit of money in poker yesterday. Got to use some support to support the crew. About to order more cast brew right now as well. Keep up the good work and much love from North Carolina. I have good news. The new Timcast studio, which is this is getting wild, ladies and gentlemen. It's 50 plus acres. It's got a 40-foot
50
tall,
plus acres.
40-foot tall building, 3 structures, 3 total standing structures, a total of maybe like, in terms of building structure, let's say, I don't know, we're probably looking at like 13,000 square feet of internal structure. Actually, more than that, I'm sorry. It's maybe like 15. It is officially done. Final inspections are all done. The crew that we've got working on it has set a timeline for the Cast Brew Coffee House. By mid-April, it should be completely done. And it's taken a really, really long time because it is really difficult, especially in the COVID era, to get contractors that are doing things right. And the problem is every time one contractor falls off, it like resets the permitting and causes a bunch of problems. But this new crew that's working with us is really, really great and it's doing really well. That being said, congratulations on your winning a good amount of money in poker yesterday. I too won a good amount of money in poker yesterday. The first thing I'll say is I was playing at MGM National Harbor, buy-in for 500. Within about an hour or two, I'm at 15. Pocket queens, dude. I know nobody cares about poker, but for those that do, this is a once in a lifetime moment. I got queen of diamond, queen of hearts. It's like a guy, a guy in seat 1, small blind, or I don't know if he's small blind. Anyway, he raises to 15. We get 2 calls. It comes to me on the button. So I raise to 50, considering the amount of players that are in. The guy, first the guy who raises calls. The next guy calls. The next guy raises. I jam instantly because I got pocket queen. Or no, I'm sorry. I call and he doesn't raise. They all call around my 50, and the flop comes like 2 hearts, and it's like 2 hearts to the board. I'm looking now. It's like Jack 9 something. I've got an overpair with the queen of hearts, so I'm blocking the flush with the overpair. We get a bet of 100. I'm like, maybe they got sets, but I got the overpair. I shove all in $500. 4 players call. 3 players call, so it's me. The turn comes a heart, and now I'm worried I'm dead to the flush. The river comes a heart, so I make the queen of hearts flush, and then the guy in the first seat flips over ace 8 of hearts. The other guy mucks his cards. The guy to my right flips over king 10 of hearts for 3 made flushes, all in the hand. I lost all my money. It was awesome. But then I went to dinner, came back, bought in for with 194 in chips that Allison had left over. I got in for 2 hours, 194 in, 1,400 out. Flat, 1,400 out.
I'm telling you, Tim, you got to have on Vegas Matt. He's probably the #1 professional poker player on YouTube. I mean, a professional slot player, professional gambler, and he's huge. His channel's blowing up on YouTube, but you'd love this guy.
That'd be fun. I think the important thing people need to understand about poker is it's not gambling. When you go to like a big tourist spot, it was wild. Like this one guy kept calling me stupid because of the way I was playing, but I was like, I'm just doing math. I'm like, how many?
Well, I have to say this, Tim. I've been to the casino with Tim. Some people are scared to death of Tim when they see him walk in because he's got a little bit of money, and some people are like, oh, I want to go play next to Tim because you play so wild.
Yeah,
that's
but
funny.
If it's a 400 max buy-in at MGM, it's 500. Sure, I'm not scared of throwing money, but I'm not just throwing money and bullying the table. I won
a little bit. You bully the table a little bit when we play.
Yes, it's people are like, why are you betting? I'm like, bro, we're playing poker. Yeah. There's 3. So I bet $50, and the guy to my right gets all angry, and he's like, why would you bet $50? And I'm like, I bet pot. I was like, I've got top pair, top kicker. There's 3 players in. I bet pot. I think it's fairly standard play to bet $50
Yeah, but
here.
Tim, when you sit at that table, half the people at that table, $100 is a lot of money to them.
Don't buy in at the minimum $100 to play poker at a table with a $500 max.
No, I know. Hey, listen, and you go to gamble, you go for the stakes, you got to play a little bit.
Clearly, one of the regs, he's like, as a standard bet, like he is a standard C bet. Like why? I'm like, bro. I didn't jam $500 all in on a garbage pair.
Yeah, but to them, $50 is like $500.
Nah, dude. There are people at the table who already have double, triple their buy-ins. Like some guys complaining because they don't understand like the basic math. They think if I got ace king, I can make a bet. If I don't, I fold. I went up against a guy who was monotone board clubs, and the guy had ace king with the ace of clubs, and he did not semi bluff me. Okay, I think he made a big mistake. I had an overpair, and I think I had like 10s, and the board was like 9 high with 3 clubs. And so I'm thinking like, I don't think he's got the made flush. I'm going to make the bet. And then the guy instantly folds his hand. I'm like, you had the ace. You could have at least tried to see the turn or whatever. But he was actually, I checked. He's in position. He checks back. I'm like, bro, make a C bet. You have the ace.
But they don't want to raise you because they know you're going to call.
That's not true, dude. I am not playing and blindly calling.
No,
every
I
single
know
hand.
that. I'm just saying you are a wealthy young man that's pretty good at poker.
This guy
so
doesn't
you're
know
hard
who
to
I
play
am.
against.
He's got ace king with the ace of clubs, 4 to the flush. He makes a big bet. He bets pot. I fold instantly. But nobody plays that way, and that's fine, I guess. But I'm saying if you know how to play even a little bit well, you go to these tourist spots and play low stakes, and like you can win. Granted, the rake is brutal, but let's stop talking about poker and read super chats again. All right, let's grab some more. Melanie says there is no Trump tape. They would have released it a long time ago. I completely agree. Doc Holliday says, are you watching, Luke? This is responsible covering instead of omission by TDS. Why, is that what Luke did?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the video I did earlier, before I knew it was recanted, I basically said, if Trump's accused, investigate him. But considering we've got one witness saying Trump was never there, one witness saying he was, it's moot. It's the score is it's -1 to 1. I don't know what to make of that. But with Bill Clinton, you've got accusations that he likes him young. He was trying to shut down the story, and there's tapes of him, and ain't nobody saying he wasn't there. So it's stacked against Bill Clinton. All right, let's grab some more super chats. Matt Tastic says 136 million registered voters, 81 million for Joe, 74 million for Trump. That's a total of 155 million votes. But Matt, I Googled the census report and it said 168 million voters, registered voters. Now, if that's the case, it's still just massive voter turnout. But I believe, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, perhaps the census is lying or whatever. I don't know. But I believe that number is incorrect. B. Lane says the hotel building I work in blew up today, Fort Worth. I think the societal deterioration and lack of blue-collar workers is becoming so dangerous, people just can't do their jobs properly anymore.
Did you see that explosion?
Yeah,
They said it was a
crazy.
gas explosion, but
I'm telling you guys, you got to get out of the cities and get chickens.
you have a point. The airplanes are falling apart, buildings are blowing up. There's a lot of, I'm kind of losing faith in society, but I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. To run away, I guess.
I think so. I think you to start learning how to survive. And I recommend downloading several survival guides, more than one to your phone. Think about how you will charge your phone in the event the power goes out. What Eric Prince told us, this is amazing. So the Culture War podcast has been doing massively well. It's
It was
really
great
cool.
with Alex Rosen. I want to give a shout out. I like that episode with Alex Rosen. He's doing great work. Predator poaching.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, right on. And the episode we had with you, I think, is our
Yeah, that was a good one. Though.
one of our biggest, our biggest on Tenet Media, where you can find the show. But we had a clip with Eric Prince, 300,000 hits, where he's talking about what happens in a civil war. He basically said everybody he knows who's been in countries where it's the government's fallen apart overnight. There's no gradual, turmoil. It's just instantly you wake up one day, the power's off. There's no internet, there's no electricity. So if we are headed towards a very dark path, my recommendation for everybody is just figure out where you're getting electricity from. Let me tell you, we've got methods here at Timcast of generating electricity, which I will not disclose. We have very obvious ones. I have a van that I built following that Joe Rogan podcast when I told him I'm going to build a van, a bug out van. It's got solar panels on the roof and a very powerful electrical system. Based on how much power it can generate, it can run a video game system and a computer indefinitely. The amount of power that it consumes throughout the night is completely replenished throughout the day, even in winter. It's a very, very powerful solar system. We have these little batteries. They're called Delta. You can find, and you can purchase with them solar panels. And we've run tests on them already. Just unfold the solar panels and plug them in. It charges up. We laid out, I think, like 12 panels, and it was like total charge time for the battery is like 2 hours. This battery can power a portable air conditioner for about 45 minutes. That's pretty nuts. Air conditioners take a ton of juice. It can run. We use these batteries as emergency backups for the power goes out. This studio will operate just fine should the power go out off these batteries. After several hours, we don't even worry about the batteries. We just plug them back in. So if it hits the fan, figure out where you're getting juice from. And if you're not getting any, you better have chickens.
No, seriously, a generator would be really good. Either a solar powered one or real
Solar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You ain't getting gas.
Yeah, no. So that would be really good. And also get one of those filtering straws. I forget what they're called, but where you can kind of like turn it
Life straw.
Life straw.
We
yeah.
got a bunch of those.
Yes, I know. Those are really
Got
good.
a ton of them. And surprisingly, though, MREs, you got to store them properly. I would recommend training, guns and ammunition, properly stored and properly trained and all that good stuff. Let's read some more super chats. Polly Pure says, "Where is Ian? Is he okay?" Y'all figured that one out already. Ruler of the Stars says, "The potato guy looks ill. Get him a steak. Hope this is enough to get the whole class a steak too." We will have a delicious steak. I'm really excited for Wednesday. It's a very difficult thing to pull off. We have our own little unit in an office building where we'll be setting up the show. Only 50 tickets for each event. The live caucus will have rotating groups coming in.
Wait, there's only 50 because everybody on Vivek's staff, I was there. They're like, "Oh, we can't get tickets. We can't get tickets." Because I was saying, "Oh, Tim's going to be here." That's why there's only 50 tickets.
Oh, I don't know who bought them. All I know is the first tickets only went out to members, and I'm pretty sure only members got them.
Yeah, I thought there'd be more tickets. Oh, wow.
Only 50.
Yeah, because everybody that was there was like, "I want to go. I can't get tickets." I was like, sorry.
So the first event, we did $50. We're not making money off the tickets. It's mostly just about screening, and that's why I went to members first, and it was $50 because we also have to have security guards, vet everybody. However, that being said, if like some activists showed up and started yelling at Vivek, I'm sure Vivek would handle it masterfully because he does.
He does.
And it is what it is.
That would be the most entertaining outcome, Elon Musk.
I'm not
The second event, we did 150 because we actually have more people coming in, including Vivek and others. And this time it's like, this one's a bigger extended show event. But here's the most important thing. We released it only to members first, and then we were going to open it up afterwards, but I think it sold out instantly. Especially for people who are in the area who are already going to the first event, probably going to go to the second one. But 50 people in this room basically means we're all just going to be hanging out.
Yeah.
This is not like you're in an auditorium. It's literally a single room office building. Like where we are is a unit in an office building. And so you'll literally be like, I'm going to be at a table, you're going to be at a chair, and you're going to be sitting 20 feet away watching the show. So we definitely have to vet but it's going to be, the show wraps, everyone's going to be hanging out, having, coffee and whatever and hanging out. So it's going to be super exciting. All right. Bad Buddha says, "Shameless chat rat love for Alex Stein. Watching Primetime with Alex Stein every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific is the highlight of my week. Keep fighting the good fight."
Thank you, Bad Buddhist. He is one of the most loyal chat rats. Wow. Thank you for that super chat.
Right on. 3 If by Treachery says, "Y'all, Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders gave us the answer to the gender pay gap. Increase the pay of the women and reduce the equivalent pay for men. At Christmas during inflation, no more noise. The enemy isn't coming; they are always here." But I don't understand how that solves the problem. What does
I
that
don't
mean?
get it.
Well, and the gender wage gap is not real on OnlyFans. Women make a lot more money than men, so I think
In entertainment, women make more money. So there are more women getting paid higher rates than men in entertainment on average. The pay gap favors women, but the most famous men typically make more than the most famous
the
women.
leading top actors. Yeah.
All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, share the show. I'm thinking about we're trying to figure out how to do a commercial for Timcast. We've never done any like real commercial for it. We've done billboards and stuff, which kind of like, I don't know if they work, I guess.
It should literally just be Ian coming in to scream the chicken sound.
But I mean, in
Like on
terms of a
birthday.
serious ad, we're going to spend money. That's not going to do anything for us.
I just think it would be really good for us. I think it'll get people watching.
It'll be funny,
I think
but it
people
won't.
will watch.
Because quite literally, we're trying to reach out to a new person who's never seen the show before and explain to them what they get when they watch the show. And Ian screaming like a chicken is only sometimes.
Yeah, no, it needs to be like you,
true, that's
like
true.
Occupy, and then you on Joe Rogan, and then you on this. Why not like Timcast?
Because that's not what Timcast IRL is. It can
But it
be.
is you. It'd be. I
It's
mean, how
really
is that
me.
not-
It's
Wait, you don't think this show is you? I would
It
say
is.
that, yeah.
But like, no, half the people, I would say 90% of people who watch the show have never seen me do field reporting from Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, but that's kind of what made you Tim Pool, right?
But that's not material to what this show is. unless
Yeah,
someone will
yeah. It
watch.
would just be cool. I like that. The time.
I was thinking maybe what we do is like every Monday morning, I'll just record a quick video where I announce our guests.
Oh yeah.
And we normally don't like to announce guests because then they cancel on us and we lose them. But I'm like, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe by announcing them, they won't cancel because we'll run an ad on YouTube where it's like, this week, Monday, we've got, Alex Stein. Tuesday, we've got so-and-so. Wednesday, we have this person. Friday, that person, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Subscribe to become a member at timcast.com. Go to timcast.com, click join us. Alex, you want to shout anything out?
Please watch my Blaze TV show, Prime Time with Alex Stein, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, please. Thank you.
We can get your coffee now too.
Yeah, guys, get the Primetime grind. And remember, the proceeds are going to go help out a lot of sick and stray cats. So that's what matters the most. Want to help out these felines.
I want to shout out my best bud Luke, and I also want to shout out. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Freedom Tunes. And we do animated cartoons about politics at least once a week. We have been releasing some videos lately that I think are super, super funny. So if you guys want to go there and check it out, just know that it's the cartoon channel run by Luke's best bud.
Best bud ever in
Best
life?
bud ever. Yeah, I'd say so.
Wow.
I mean, are any of his other best buds on a shirt
That's
with him?
true. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. You can see our work on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast News. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Twitter at HC Brimlow, and I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. Guys, thanks so much.
And
Bye,
the best part of the shirt is that on the shirt, Luke is wearing the shirt. Who's
wearing the shirt?
wearing the shirt as well.
That's just my
It
best
never
bud.
ends.
That's how deep their
My
friendship
never
best
ends.
bud Luke really thinks ahead, you know? I appreciate that about him.
Yeah. Anyway, Serge.
Oh, wow. This has been a fun saga to watch unfold. Yeah, I'm Serge.com. I'm ready for the after show. Thanks for coming, Alex. Always a pleasure. I'm a chat rat, too.
Oh,
before the show.
Serge,
Yeah, before the
yes,
show,
thank you.
I hang out, I watch. Yeah, anyways. Let's go
We'll
to
see
town.
you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Hang out. We'll see y'all there.
Cheers.